No, I'm muting myself. Good evening, everybody. I was about to say, I'm in the driving seat today. I'm using some new tech, and I don't know what the hell I'm doing. But it's only the most important stream of the season. Mark, how are you?
Yeah, what could possibly go wrong? We've probably got more people watching than ever, and I've given the reins to you. I'm okay. I've just got out of work, so I've completely missed the day in terms of what's broken today, in terms of transfers, injuries, etc. So you need to catch me up on the news, and I can tell you now, I'm in a bit of turmoil. I didn't want to go into Fest with unknowns and decisions to make, but the way it's looking, I'm going to be at Fest tomorrow, and I'm going to be in a hell of a state because we're going to be doing a round table an hour before deadline, and in that hour, I'm still going to be wanting to make changes, I think. So I'm not in a good place. Put it that way.
I take it you have heard the news about your soulmate.
Oh yeah, I heard that.
Who was going to win you FPL? Little Oscar Bob breaking his leg.
Yeah, I mean that's the reason why I'm in turmoil, because basically it's that has ruined my plans. I mean, he shouldn't have been central to my plans, but it turns out that those cheap enablers did unlock so many options, and it's basically just unfolded from there. Basically, yeah.
We got loads of people watching. We're nearly 1,000 people watching already. This slightly hastily construed stream today. Quite a few comments about your volume. People are saying you're a bit loud, which again,
I turned myself down this end, so I should be okay.
Look at this from Josh. This from Josh 14. Being able to hear Mark clearly without the volume loud is the real revelation of this pre-season.
Yeah, but hopefully the balance is good between us now. Let us know in comments. Hopefully it is.
Yeah, let us know. So obviously we've had a pretty good season, a pretty good pre-season of content, I think, so far. So if you're looking for some last-minute advice, do go back and look through some of that. Today we're going to be talking through some of the big stories I think that have come through today. We've had some press conferences, we've had some new signings, we've had some shock Bob revelations, and what that might mean. And my club have gone absolutely crazy and started signing everyone.
That hasn't helped, has it? That hasn't helped, because Barco and Pedro were actually not mainstays, but they were building blocks in our teams. Yeah. And then 24 hours before the deadline, Brighton go, you know what? Let's go and spend 100 million. Shall we? Yeah, go on, let's do that. Let's throw FPL managers into turmoil and suggest that we're going to be again.
I can't.
What did I describe you as? A shit show of uncertainty. Probably a bit harsh, but that's what Brighton looks like.
I had someone else say we're the B-Tech Chelsea, which I really took to
B-Tech Chelsea. Yeah.
Unless they're saying that Chelsea are like, not even educated, and actually we're slightly better. But I think they were using it in the other sense that, that they're the highly educated ones. I'm not really having that. But yeah, we're going to talk about that. You've done some amazing stuff on pre-season, looking at minutes and returns for anyone who's putting stock into things like that. We can look back at some of the other stuff that we've talked about so far, and then we're bringing back the predictions. We've obviously got our predictions for Gameweek
with a twist.
And our teams. Yep, with a twist, absolutely. Yep. So yeah, we've got quite a bit to get to. If you're liking and enjoying the stream, do give us a like. Do drop us a comment as well. Do drop us a review if you're listening on podcast, as always. But yeah, let's get into it. Right, let's start with the news then. Let's start with Oscar Bob. Fractured his leg. Obviously devastating for him. His opportunity to break into the team and put a bit of pressure on everyone, really, because they don't. They've lost Alvarez. There's Bernardo Silva there. There's obviously what's his name? the new Brazilian winger, Savinho, who's now obviously got his opportunity to have a bit. But yeah, you were a big Bob fan. I mean, what do you think this means for City going forward in terms of the first few weeks and what they do in the transfer window?
Let's not think he was a key player long term, because obviously they've got lots of solutions. But I think he was a key player going into the first couple of games, because he's been their best performer in pre-season. He's obviously got that link up with Haaland, being compatriot and so on. It has worked well for them pre-season. I mean, they've got through pre-season with a much depleted squad because of obviously losing a lot of players to the internationals, but they've still impressed at times during pre-season. But Bob has been the highlight for them. And Pep would have gone into the season thinking Bob can carry some burden when it comes to creating chances for Haaland over certainly the first couple of games. And I do think it is a disruption destruction for them, because Savino's not ready to be thrown in. I think he got his first minutes, didn't he, at the Charity Shield? I could still call it Charity Shield. I might as well call it the Milk Cup as well.
What is it now? The Community Shield, right?
Yeah, Community Shield.
Yeah.
Hasn't
got a sponsor yet. It's not like the Panorama.
That's fine. I do think that because of that, it will have disrupted City going into the Chelsea game, because there's no question he was a starter. Pep would have had him in his 11 for Stamford Bridge, and probably Ipswich as well. So I feel for the player first and foremost, because he was about to have a breakout season. If you listed the players that possibly could emerge this season as stars, and he wasn't going to go and repeat Palmer's returns for sure, no chance, but I think he could have easily achieved double figures for either goals or assists if he'd got a long enough run in the team. And he was showing the talent that could potentially stake a claim in the starting 11, not on a regular basis, but in and out. So over the season, he probably would have scored 10 goals in all comps, and certainly assisted as well. And now he's probably gone for 3 to 4 months. We don't know. We don't have unless it's come out today, the full prognosis. Real shame for the player. He could have taken his opportunity. And obviously for FPL, it's a blow, because he was a key enabler for me. I don't know how many others were on him, but I was certainly in that camp.
Yeah. I mean, and the other implication obviously is, what does City do now? Because they already seemed maybe a little bit light, having sold Alvarez and injuries to Grealish, and obviously they haven't got Rodri back yet, and other players, might take a bit of time to get up to fitness. They bought Savinho, but not really anyone else, to my knowledge. Can't really think of anyone. So that, they haven't really invested in this season, and it had an implication on me, because it's made me think, well, City are going to go out and buy someone now. Who do they buy? We talked about it on the last show. Do they go out and get Eze? And I know he's not a right winger. That's not his position. But could they shift Foden back out right and play Eze central? And it's put some question marks around Eze for me, which means that I've rejigged a load of players in my team. So the 5 million Oscar Bob, who you had in your team, has made you make some changes. It's made me, who didn't even own him, make some changes. So it's a massive impact.
Right? I think everyone's looking at Eze, right? There was a lot of people on X today saying they kept searching for Eze to City, and that does look like it could be a target for them. And because they've got the option of playing Silva out, Bernardo out on the right, we were led to believe, and when Luke did an excellent post about how he sees them lining up, and he felt that Foden and Bernardo would be used more centrally, and it'll be Bob competing from the start with Savio on the right. Savio Savino. I think he's called Savio Savino, isn't he? Or that's his nickname, Savino. It's AKA Savino, I think it is.
Savino. I'm not calling him Silvino.
Yeah. Now he's not ready, so he's not going to come in. Bernardo presumably will start at Stamford Bridge now. And does it mean that Foden has to come back quicker? I mean, I didn't necessarily think Foden would start against Ipswich, but I now think that he probably will have to, because Oscar Bob was, he was providing a goal threat in pre-season. I think Pep would have gone into the season thinking, well, without Foden there, Bob can fill that void in terms of replacing Foden's goal threat. He wouldn't be long-term. Foden will come into the team, obviously, but there's no question that they need goals other than Haaland, and he wants to have players in that team that can have a goal threat as well as Haaland to distract, if anything, to distract defenders from marking their key man. And Foden would have done that and will do that, but Bob was doing that early on for the first couple of game weeks. Now he's gone. Who do they bring in who brings goals to that team?
Exactly. And look at taking Alvarez out. I mean, Alvarez scored so many important goals from last season, whether Haaland was injured or not. I don't know how many goals he got over the season, but it must have been 20 to 30, I'd say, overall in all competitions. So they definitely need someone who can take, because what happens if Haaland gets injured? Like, it's going to be Bernardo Silva at false 9, or Grealish, Doku, Bernardo. None of these.
They've got Nunes as well, haven't they? But
none of these.
He's never been in favour. No,
none of these are 15 goal a season players. I think they're going to struggle to fill the void. I just don't know why they wouldn't go out and get Eze if he's actually going to cost them like 55, 60 million.
Yeah.
That's such a good price for him.
I mean, they'll know a release clause if there is one, and they'll go straight in with that, I expect. And so it's put doubts in people's minds about Eze as well, because of we're expecting some form of move, and who knows, he might not line up at Brentford because there's a move in the offing and Palace want to protect the asset. we don't know. It's all speculative, but the Bob injury has caused this chain reaction of stuff.
Crazy. It's crazy,
yeah,
isn't it?
Not good.
I mean, I don't love it because obviously it's a horrible injury for him, but I kind of love the carnage that it sort of.
And the thing is, I sent you a screenshot of my team, didn't I, yesterday lunchtime? Yeah. And I said, I'm sending you this because I think it's locked and I don't want you accusing me of cheating and copying others when you see this team elsewhere. 4 hours later, the Bob injury broke and it's all gone out the window.
Yeah.
And I was so settled. I was so happy. And now
So was I. I was completely set until I had to take Eze out, and it's made me rethink. Anyway, we'll come on to our teams in a bit. We're getting some super chats in. Thank you very much. I've got all of these pinned. So after we've done this section, we'll take those. And yeah, feel free to drop those in. This one's a little bit more informal. We've got a bit of a structure, but we can take super chats as we.
It's a bit of a jazz episode of BlackBox.
Jazz episode. That's it. And then at the end, I'm going to put a post in the Discord channel for Godfather tier Patreon members, and we're going to get a couple of the Patreons into the chat as well. So if you're interested in that, head over to Patreon, sign up, be a Godfather tier member, and join into Discord. It could be a complete disaster, Mark, or we could uncover the next content creator in the FPL.
We could, yeah. Which way can it go? I mean,
which way will it go?
I mean, it can't be as big a disaster as a certain stream earlier this week.
We haven't even mentioned passwords. I wanted Andy to come on. I wanted Andy to come on the stream today so we could just relentlessly mock him for it. If anyone hasn't seen it, Andy, who obviously hosts the Scoutcast, had a bit of a nightmare with Zoom, and for some reason left all the cameras on and was talking to himself, which involved the password for the Scout Zoom account.
Because when I'm talking to myself, I'm normally reciting my passwords, PIN codes, bank numbers, that kind of stuff. Yeah. So it was very fun.
You phoned me up this morning. You were like, 3196. Mother's maiden name is Deborah.
A lot of comments about Eze. I was just speculation that Eze could be on the move to City, and as a result of that, he might not start at Brentford. There's nothing in that. It's just speculation, right?
No, but we're going to come back to the pre-season lessons. But if there is doubt, play it safe. That's what I just keep coming back to.
Yeah.
Right, let's talk about Brighton then. For those who've been following the transfer news, we've gone a bit wild in the transfer market this season. He's 100 million in the last few days. Got to be one of the top spenders in the window, right? This year. Are we the top spenders in the window this year in the Premier League?
Chelsea surely
are.
But
they don't even factor. They don't even count anymore. We've signed Gruder from Mainz, and Hertz is very excited about him. He described him as a street footballer in his interview today, but also said he needs time to bed in. So anyone that's worried about Minte in the short term, I wouldn't be too concerned. It's going to take Gruder a bit of time. But if you've got 5 minutes, go and watch his highlight reel on YouTube. He looks like the greatest player.
But they all do. They all do when you go on YouTube and watch the highlights there.
I know. He scored some absolute screamers though for Mainz. But yeah, we're expecting him to compete with Minter on the right. That's where he played for Mainz, or play in the 10 as well, which obviously puts more pressure on João Pedro. Kadagulu is a big one. A lot of people worried how that's going to affect Barco. He's played predominantly left back, but he's a very versatile player. If you look at his average his positions on transfer market, I've never really seen anything like it. He's kind of played literally everywhere. And I still maintain our biggest weakness is at right back. And if we're signing someone who can play at right back, that's where he'll play, at least in the short term. Because
you're saying it now, Barco's not under threat. You think that Kadagulu's arrival doesn't put him under threat?
Well, it puts him under more threat than if we didn't sign Kadagulu. Let's put it that way. And I think Estupiñán's back in training, but I can't see any world in which Barco doesn't start at least the first 3 games. So
have you checked the pronunciation? By the way, we're getting pelters for mispronouncing the player. Kadioglu, that's right. Kadagulu. That's probably the worst mispronunciation. Kadagulu, wasn't that a band in the 80s? I'm sure it was.
Kadioglu. Yeah, sorry.
Kadioglu. Very good.
Yeah, I mean, he will put. It's more competition. It's obviously not ideal. I just think, and like I've said a few times, that Barco is he's a one of a kind player, and I think it would be a real shame if someone who looks like they've been built to become a key player in the squad just suddenly doesn't play anymore. And I know Estupiñán's back, and I know we're signing potentially a new left back, but if that just suddenly means that Barco doesn't play, I think that's a real shame, given the preseason he's had, given his clear ability in the side. So Estupiñán could come in and play left centre back. Kadioglu could come in and play right back, and then Barco's not affected. Barco could switch to midfield, or he could just get ousted straight away, and I could be completely wrong. But I just think for 2 or 3 weeks, it's his place to lose, I think.
Yeah, I think he starts the season. There's no question, and as long as he's, you see him as a short term. But the big issue is that he's got 22% ownership now, so there's a danger that he'll drop in price once he loses his start. He'll drop in price. So then the clock is ticking, isn't it? So you've got to get rid then before you lose a 0-1, and losing a 0-1 can be really punishing. And you don't necessarily want to be prioritising subbing your 4 million defender out as an early transfer. So I'm really worried about it. The trouble is, and we'll look at it later, the cast of 4 million defenders isn't exactly littered with strong alternatives, is it?
No, and I still think he's the strongest one, because the short-term fixtures are, with Everton and Manchester United, the fact he's on corners in those, he could get an attacking return in either of those 2 games. The clean sheet might be a little bit harder to get, but if he gets an assist or something, then you're probably fine. He's not going to drop, because if a 4 million defender gets something, but it almost feels like there's a bit more pressure on him to get something in that first game, because if he goes into Manchester United and Arsenal and then has all these players competing for his position, and then he loses place in game week 3 or 4, then he's definitely dropping.
Yeah, but a defender can play well and impress a manager without giving us an FPL return. So it's no. I don't think that makes him more likely he's going to knock a corner in that gets us an assist. But so that's the I just don't know. I'm really worried now from what I saw today.
There's definite risk. I think if I'm starting him in game week 1, he'll definitely play game week 1. That's fine. Game week 2, I wasn't planning on playing him anyway, and then going forward, I'll just kind of assess and see where he is, because if he does start strongly and he does go into game week 4 and 5 seemingly first choice, having had a really strong couple of games, and then he's got Forest at home and another home game straight after that, then suddenly he's one of the best assets you can have. So you're kind of risking a 0.1 drop for someone who could be really strong in a few weeks. But I can completely understand why people are getting cold feet about it now, because there's a lot of things happening, which leads me on to Rutter and João Pedro as well. I'm really surprised at this one. A £40 million signing of a number 10 / potential number 9, who Leeds fans think has a lot of potential, but definitely isn't the finished article yet in terms of his finishing. It's a lot of money for us to spend on someone like that. And I just don't know what that means for João Pedro, because Ferguson has been talked up today by Hertzler. We've got Gruder and Minte on the right. Pedro isn't getting in over Matoma on the left. So now there's 3 potential places in that 10 role. Plus Welbeck's had a good preseason. I think Pedro's an avoid now as well. I think he's more of an avoid than Barco is.
He's a 10. Rutter's a 10, right? He's not an out-and-out goal scorer. He's a creator. And I've seen a bit of him. I've seen him play. He's got technically really good player, good awareness, good touch, good feet, and he fits the Brighton mould. He fits, if anything, the De Zerbi Potter mould, and obviously the new manager is trying to maintain that, I guess, that kind of culture of what a Brighton footballer is, someone who's very good technically, creative, and I imagine a young player who can increase in value, which is what Rutter is. Yeah, I think it does make Pedro a real risk now. So again, it's a real late twist affecting a building block of our squads. Yeah. Not great.
No, not great.
Thanks, Mr. Bloom. Thanks for getting the checkbook out right at the last minute.
Exciting as a Brighton fan, though. I mean, we've got so many options now.
I'm not interested in that. Who's interested in that?
Let me do another tactical analysis about Brighton. No,
let's not do that.
Yeah, we were light last year in attacking positions, and we've got a lot now. So it's a better position to be in as a fan. But yeah, definitely as an FPL player, it's not ideal. Smith Rowe, what did you make of this? Marco Silva said on Smith Rowe, it's going to be a process for him to be in his best physical condition. But then he did go on to say he's had an impact in pre-season. I think he got 2 in 2, didn't he? But it's going to be a process for him to be in his best physical condition. Does that cast a bit of doubt around minutes and starts?
No, he starts.
No, good.
No worries. Don't try and throw me that one. I think that he'll get 60, 70 minutes. Well, he'll get 70 plus minutes at Old Trafford, no question. Then and the good fixtures are there for him, so I'm not going to be put off Smith Rowe. No chance.
Okay, good. No, nor am I. And I think from what I gathered from that interview, he sees him as such a key part of everything he's going to try and build with Fulham going forward. So even if it does take him a little while to get going, the fixtures are there for him, and I would have thought in a few weeks he's going to be established as, you know, one of the best assets, because he's in my team now, and I'm happy. Man United, they've signed De Ligt, and I'm going to get this pronunciation wrong, Mazraoui.
That's okay.
That's
right.
Bold,
yeah, no, you did it.
Yeah.
We apparently been pronouncing Ruta wrong. It's Ruta, not Rutter, by the way.
Okay, good. So that's 3 and 3.
I thought it was wrong. Exactly. Yeah, people don't come here for the pronunciations. Good job. So again, late disruption to the United team. I don't think it affects our plans too much, because apart from Garnacho,
I got this right. Of all the ones today.
Oh, well done.
Sorry, interrupt. Just being told that I nailed that, but yeah.
Congratulations. Apart from Bruno and Garnacho, I don't think we were looking at United assets anyway. I mean, there may have been people who are on Martinez in defence that this influences, obviously. So no prices yet for these players. So none of these players, the Brighton signings or the United signings, have gone in.
No, De Ligt's in at 5.
Oh, is he? He's in at 5. Yeah. Okay. You're not going to look at that, are you, when you've got Martinez at 4-5, unless you feel Martinez is not getting into the 11, which I don't think is the case. So
it feels like an okay signing, De Ligt. He's obviously a few years ago he was like the most highly regarded defender in Europe, and I don't think his stock is, well, it's not anywhere near as high as it was back then, but he's still an improvement on Maguire and Lindelof and Evans. So you got to say it's a pretty decent signing, right?
Yeah, and Nigel the Crab, I call him Nigel because he's been around so long now. The Lit is a threat from set pieces. Yeah, of course. Yeah. But if I'm right in saying, I think United's returns from set pieces were really disappointing last season. I'm just going to look now what their goal returns were. 6 goals from corners last season, which is the 5th worst in the league. Only Burnley, Sheffield United, Forest and Palace had fewer goals direct from corners. So unless they improve that, you're not going to sign a defender on the basis of threat from corners, are you? So, not at 5 million. You can go and get Munoz, can't you, from Palace? And I think that would be the preferred option in that bracket, or maybe even an Everton defender over United defender. I mean Martinez at 4-5, perfectly good option. Yeah.
And he's not a threat versus Van Dijk. No, definitely not. More like to get sent off, I think. And then the final one I just wanted to flag was Postecoglou on Solanke. Seems pretty positive. Thankfully, it's what we expected. As a top pro, good guy, settled into dressing room really well. Footballing wise, got great attributes that fit what we're trying to do. There's a bit of an adjustment period, but we've seen that with every new signing that comes in. He's fitted in really well with the group. We've still got a couple of sessions to go. He should be good for Monday. That's about as good as you could hope for, right?
Yeah, I saw the quote and I presumed when Neil retweeted it that it had some shocking revelation that would disrupt us, but it doesn't. I mean, it basically for me means that, I mean, Richarlison's only just got back, right? So, and we'll see later, I don't think he's played any minutes at all pre-season. So the only threat to Solanke's minutes is Kulusevski. I think Kulusevski won't start the game. I've seen some predicted lineups for Spurs that have him out on the right. I just don't agree with that, because they'll want Kulusevski on the bench, presumably to replace Solanke late in the game. So why would they play him out on the right and rob themselves of that option? Unless Richarlison's going to be on the bench. I don't know, maybe he will be, but he hasn't had any pre-season minutes. And as we know, Richarlison's injury prone. So I think it'll be Johnson on the right, Kulusevski on the bench, and it'll be Solanke will be preserved maybe with 10-15 minutes to go, but I still think he can do a lot of damage against Leicester, even with the X-Mins down to 70-75, which it might be, but I still back him.
I'm going to predict Kulusevski starting over Maddison
in the 10. Yeah, he could start in the 10. Yeah,
I think it'd be very harsh to drop Kulusevski after the preseason he's had, and Maddison hasn't really delivered. So I don't know. It's hard. Oh, you wouldn't go near either of them, though, would you? It's or Johnson. Now, again, that's another. Johnson was arguably like the best 6-5 million midfielder like a few weeks ago, and now he's too risky to pick.
He is, and this is what we've seen. We haven't really had answers over the last week. We've had more questions than answers, haven't we? And it's coming on a daily basis. So, yeah, I'm seeing some questions pop in. Do ask your questions, because we can pin them and star them, and then we'll come back to them later. So, yeah, do send questions in.
I'm playing around with the StreamYard's pinning. It's fun.
Yeah, are you? Okay, very good. Yeah. So I see some questions going in there. On Forest, yeah, Johnson would be better off on the bench, maybe, but he's played out in the right all season. I just think counter-attack, pace, Son one side, Johnson the other. Away from home, I think Johnson's more suited. Kulusevski at home, maybe, to break down a low block. But are they going to get a low block at Leicester? Maybe they will. Maybe, maybe Cooper, maybe I should know, maybe he will come out first home game and just block the lowest of low, which he did do at Forest, but I'd like to think they'd have a go at Spurs first game, but maybe that's wrong. Maybe they will low block, and it'll be Kulusevski's needed to unlock it, because might not be space in behind, and maybe, So again, it's like you said, there's uncertainty, and so it's only really Son who's nailed on to start and get good minutes. Solanke will start, but how long will he get? I reckon 70 at least.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm going to go to the super chats in a second, but one from AFC Kirkham just says, "Do you think Son's appeal is increased or dropped?"
Saw that
after Solanke's joined, because I'd say dropped, because I think Solanke is better value now than Son.
Yes.
But at the same time, early on, in a way, it makes Son maybe a better asset, because he's now got a big striker to play off. Yeah, that's what I mean.
In the short term, I think he's a good option now, because if you're going to, I do back the Spurs attack at Leicester. I think they're going to score 3 goals. And I was going to go Johnson. Now I can't go Johnson. I'm obviously looking at Solanke. But if I really want to back the Spurs attack, you go Solanke and Son. Not forever. You have a plan to move Son away. But I'm looking at potentially getting someone like Son in or Bruno in and move into Foden, depending on whether I go in with Haaland or not. Bit of a spoiler. But yeah, I think Son for the first couple of games is a good option, because you're right. He's got Solanke to serve, and I still think Son away from home is going to be a big threat to Leicester, regardless of playing out wide. I don't think necessarily they've got what it takes to contain him, and then it's Everton at home, isn't it? So I think the first 2, Son looks really good.
Yeah, there'd be some people out there considering going without Haaland and Son and just having Son, right?
Yeah, I've heard. Maybe. Yeah. I mean, they're the kind of people who read passwords out on live on stream.
Just to take some of the super chats. Thank you to Nigel the Crab, who's been a member with us now for 12 months on YouTube, has now made the switch over to Patreon as well. So thank you for all your support, Nigel. He then went and gifted 5 memberships as well.
God,
on the
is Nigel coming on later? Is he coming on live?
Yeah, Nigel, when you come on, have a look in the Discord, find the link when I post it. Of all the people, you deserve to come on the most and have a chat with us.
Exactly. We owe him about $2,000.
We do. We're gonna have to buy him a drink at first.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tomorrow. Subhodjit, super chat about Forest. Hi Mark, what's your thoughts on Forest defence and Hudson-Odoi? Also on Trent and Vardiel. Thanks, Subhodjit. It's nice to know that my opinion is needed in this.
Yeah, I think the Forest defence will improve this year. I think Milinkovic is a good signing that should help with the set piece threat, and that really, I mean, our XGC last season was really good, was 5th or 6th in the league. So if we address the goalkeeper issue, and I still think it's an issue, and I think we will get a better goalkeeper in before the window closes. Do
you think Sells starts the season though, right?
He has to, because that's all we've got. But I think it'll be either Johnston or Ramsdale through the door before the transfer window closes. Yeah, but it's an important position. I think I think that I think it's a necessary. It's not essential for us, but it's necessary we do it.
So what was the point of Miguel then?
Well, I think that was an opportunity. He had release clause that was ridiculously low, and we see him as someone for the future we can resell, basically. Right. He had a release clause. Yeah, he's young. I think he's like 22, 23. He had a release clause of 40 million, and then they changed the clause to 5 million, and we found out about it and we got in quick. And so I don't know why they changed the clause. Something his agent did, and we heard about it and pounced. So I think he's an investment. He may even go out on loan. I don't know. He wasn't in the squad for the last couple of friendlies. I think the Forest defence is worth an investment once it settles down. We're looking at a left back, so that puts some concern over Williams and Aina, who will start. I think Aina is nailed, but I wouldn't go for him yet. If you have to get a defender now, if you want to go to Forest defence now, you go Murillo. It's probably the one who's most likely to start every game. He's the sexy pick. He'll score a cracking goal. He will score a goal that will be on Match of the Day this season in terms of, Match of the Day focused. I want a goal from Murillo, and hopefully his transfer value goes up another 10 million. Because
he's a bit like Fabian Schär, isn't he? Like, you just know he's got that.
Yeah,
absolute.
He's got one in him. It's coming this season for sure, at least one.
Yep.
So,
yep.
He's even on free kicks. Like pre-season, Gibbs White rolled him, and he took a 30-yard free kick on goal. So he's determined to score. At this point. It's coming. Yeah. Trent versus Vardiol. I'd rather get Trent. I'd rather pay the $1 million more for Trent. I'm just buying into the slot revolution. I think Trent will play the right back role, and I think inverted right back is his best position. I think he can be creative that side, and that side he'll have Salah and Szoboszlai, and I think they are very talented players, and I think the three of them will cause a lot of problems for a lot of teams. So I like Trent. Vardiol's brilliant as well, but we do know what we don't know is the rotation with the Champions League, whether Vardiol is going to be affected in some way by that. We don't know where he's going to play. Is he going to play on the left? We presume he's going to play left back. But Pep has options there. I want to give it a bit more time before we consider Vardiol, because you're showing the Champions League dates, so it's game week. After game week 4, we'll get the first round of matches, and game week 6 and 7 the second round. So if you're wildcarding for game week 8, you'll have a bit of information on that. If you're wildcarding after game week 3 into game week 4, you don't know anything about how that rotation will affect things. Maybe we can't tell, but Vardiol isn't going to play 38 league games in every Champions League game, is he? So whereas Trent is going to play every league game when he's fit. So I think he's more nailed than Vardiol in term over long term. And I think if you're signing Trent or Vardiol, they're long term, right? You intend to hold them for the entire season, I would say.
I think Vardiol is obviously going to be a massive factor for us, maybe even in a couple of weeks. But I think you can afford to start the season without him. Given the options we have in Trent and even like Saliba. I think I'd put both of those ahead of Vardiol, because we don't know what Vardiol's position is going to be until they get all their players back. But if he's playing at centre back, he's if it's Saliba at centre back or Vardiol at centre back, I'd rather go Saliba, because Arsenal have got a better defence. Obviously, if Vardiol's playing at left back and rolling up like he did towards the end of last season, it's a different story. But we don't know what that's going to be like. We don't know how City are going to start the season and settle, but we do know that Trent is going to be very involved in everything, and that Arsenal are probably going to keep 2 clean sheets in 3, given they've got Brighton and Wolves.
And in terms of sample size data, we've got far more on Trent, right? And we know he's pretty consistent season to season, and so I'd rather put the money there early on and then see what we get from Vardiol over another set of data this season. There you go.
Agreed. Next question. This is from Albin Fedrick. Thank you very much for the super chat. By the way, Mark, we have 2,170 people watching.
It's live. Embarrassing, isn't it? And all we're doing is turning up and answering a few questions. So we have got some more screens. Don't worry, we have done some work.
At this stage, though, I kind of feel like people have absorbed a lot of information. They, all the stats and things, like we've done all that. It's kind of now just the point of the final touches, isn't it, to teams? Other than you, I think most people have hopefully got their structures sorted at this point. And it's
you not say the final touches. I feel like some kind of protester has broken and thrown soup all over my painting and ruined it.
Well, you're debating no Salah, no Haaland, all of this stuff. I know that I'm going with Haaland and no Salah, so I kind of feel like I've got that structure right. Albin, go on.
You're putting pressure on me to go without Haaland for the Match of the Day challenge, aren't you, as well? So I'm feeling that pressure. I know it is. But then I go into review.
Season, Mark. It's season 5.
Yeah. But then I consult the robot, and what does the robot say? He says, don't. Well, let me find the voice. Then he says, "Don't go Salah." I'll try and find it. Leave me alone.
It says, play Salah, not Haaland.
There you go. Did that work okay?
It worked perfectly, but I wish it had got stuck.
So the robot is
Very
saying
good.
go Salah now, which is yeah, it has been chopping and changing. It's so close, isn't it, between the two of them? It's very hard to know what is optimal at the moment. So yeah. Spoiler
How
for
about
later.
Yeah, no, I look forward to talk about that. What do you reckon on this? This is from Albin. Best 6'5" mid after Nkunku. Also best 4'5" defender. I mean, I guess the first question is Nkunku still the best 6'5" mid together? I think last week I said Nkunku, Szoboszlai, who I was considering, and Bailey. Obviously, you've got Gibbs White in there, Garnacho. Anyone else at 6'5"?
Well, we talked about Brennan. We talked about Brennan, didn't we?
Yeah,
we got
Brennan, I think.
Szoboszlai's in there as a dark horse as well.
No, I said Szoboszlai. Yeah,
okay. Right. I'm sorry, I don't listen to a word you say. Sorry.
No, it's fine. Other than mind games about Haaland.
Nkunku is the best 6'5" option. Is he the best 6'5" option to start with? That's debatable. I think probably Gibbs White is the best over the first few fixtures because of Forest fixtures. And he's got pens and Nkunku hasn't. Plus, we haven't seen Nkunku in Maresca's Chelsea yet. Chelsea have only signed 17 players in the last 48 hours. So there's still a little bit of uncertainty. I think he's going to play as one of the 10s or one of the 8s or whatever you want to call it. Right? He's not going to play up front, down the middle. I don't believe he's not going to play out wide because they've options in those positions. I think he's going to play alongside Palmer or Dewsbury Hall. He's going to play two of those three basically. Nkunku could play in a variety of positions though. He should get plenty of minutes, and he's had the most minutes pre-season for all the Chelsea players, and we know what he can do. His Bundesliga record was superb. We haven't seen it translate yet to the Premier League, but we expect this to be a breakout season. So I'm expecting him to be the best 6'5" option. Yes. Would I go with him over Gibbs White to start with? No. But I would definitely plan to move to Nkunku 2 or 3 weeks in, because Chelsea's fixtures, I mean, you can show the ticker are very strong. So, yeah.
God, don't give me tasks to do.
Best 4-5 defender. Let's look at that. Best 4-5 defender for me is let's look at Chelsea's fixtures there. That's a bit blurry. What's going on? Why is it so blurry?
It's on my screen.
Oh, is it? Okay. Oh, yeah, it's getting there for me. So Chelsea's fixtures from Game Week 2 are very strong, and we know that. So if you don't start Nkunku, and I'm not going to, but I'm definitely going to have a plan to move to him for the Palace game probably. As for the best 4-5 defender, I actually think that's quite easy. It's Jarell Quansah for me, because I think that he starts for Liverpool, and I do expect Liverpool to progress defensively this season. I think under Slot they will have more control, more possession, and they will concede fewer goals as a result. And I think Quansah at 4-5 is a bargain. Sure. There you go.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really. I think Nkunku is the best option. I would start with him over Gibbs White. I think he's just the one that you get in, and I think he's got the biggest potential. We're going to look at our predictions obviously in a bit, and I think there's goals in that City Chelsea game. I think that could just be any scoreline. Yeah, if Rodri's not back, I think it could be anything. Nkunku's definitely my pick of the 6'5s. Then I think I'd take a punt on Bailey. I think given that it's 3 weeks and he's quite fun, and then it's really good fixtures after that. In terms of the 4-5 option, I like Robinson. Robinson's the only 4-5 defender I've got, and Fulham's fixtures are incredible from Game Week 2 to about Game Week 6 or 7. So I think they would be my pick. So yeah, we're completely different in that.
No, I like it. I mean, I like Bailey from Game Week 3, so you can get on that Villa fixture run without having to invest in Watkins. And if you can't get to Watkins, then Bailey's great for that.
Yeah.
I don't know but that is also when you'd be looking at Nkunku, I think, because City at home, Wolves away. Yeah, he could get things in both games, but I think it's that run after that, Palace, Bournemouth, West Ham, Brighton, that you want him for. So there's a conflict there on where you go. It's interesting, isn't it? Because when I talked about having Jota, I engaged with some people that I shouldn't have engaged with, apparently. You were saying in WhatsApp. and on Twitter.
You're so sweet because you're so like innocent and naive when it comes to Twitter.
Yeah, I don't know.
And I'm like, why is Mark talking to that guy? He's
Apparently,
like one of the worst toxic accounts out there. You know, having a little chat with him.
I was like this on Scout, wasn't I? When we had trolls on the comments, I was in there every day replying to the trolls, and then Joe came along with his band stick, and so. And I'm like that on Twitter. I just give everyone the benefit of that. Well, that's a perfectly innocent question, but it's slightly wound me up. So I'm going to reply for the next 4.5 hours. So I don't do anything like that at work, but certainly when I get home, I like to post or at lunch. And yeah, there was a talk about, well, if you go Jota, why are you going Jota? He gets injured. He's not going to give you minutes. I mean, I was going Jota because short-term move, and they're seeing that reluctance to go, oh, don't book in a transfer. And it's like, my point was, what are the chances that we get to game week 3 and we look at our midfield that we picked in game week 1 and we go, no, absolutely no one I want to change in my midfield. There's not a single midfield. There's not a single midfield bandwagon that I'm nervous about and want to jump on. No, absolutely not. I'm going to keep the same 5 midfielders I picked in game week 1. That's not going to happen. Of all the areas of our team, the area that we are likely to be most volatile in is going to be midfield. Because our defence, we'll probably go quite big. We'll have Porro and Trent and some settled 4-5s. Up front, we'll go Haaland, Solanke, Isak, maybe have a plan to get Watkins in. So those 2 areas, defence and forwards, are going to be pretty solid. And I think we will get to game week 3 and not necessarily have to make changes there. Midfield, all over the shop. There's a whole cast of players who could catch our eye, go up in price rises. There's no way we're not making a midfield transfer for 7.5 or below by game week 3, unless you're doing the thing that we've talked about, which is no, I'm not going to make a transfer. I'm going to wild card between 3 and 4 and roll over. Fair play if you're going to do that, but I think you might miss out on a few opportunities if you do.
And that's just the mid-price and budget options, let alone when the premium options start coming into effect as well. When Foden's back, if you haven't got Saka,
Palmer.
if Salah scores, Palmer is obviously, no one's got Palmer at the moment within the Scout Twitter circles, but you know, if he comes off the bench and scores against Man City and then he's got the run that Chelsea have got, we might all be clamoring for him. So yeah, it's gonna get very interesting. We have to speed up a little bit with these super chats, Mark, or we're literally gonna be loads.
Let's just keep going. It's all good.
Loads coming.
There's one there. What is Azzy's drink of choice tomorrow at Fest? Yeah, what is your drink of choice tomorrow? Are you going to be on? There's no shots, by the way.
There's no shots. No tequilas.
No, I think they can only do. I think I wanted to say Jaeger bombs. Maybe they can do them. They did say they can't sell shots. I don't know why. Some ruling they can't sell shots. So
okay,
maybe
they need like a special Godfather tier license to sell. Do you know what? I'm glad of that in a way, because I always end up doing.
It'll get messy, won't it? Yeah.
Yeah, and I always end up doing them at like 10 o'clock, and I'm already drunk, and I'm going to be leaving in an hour, and I do like 4 tequilas, and I wake up feeling terrible. I don't know what I'll be on tomorrow. It's cocktail. It's 2-for-1 cocktails, isn't it?
Yeah, it's cocktails. That's what I'll be on as well.
Yeah.
I'll need one as well.
I'll probably be on the cocktails. I'm interested to know how many people go into the Man U match with like 2 or 3 players. You know, like there could be some like Garnacho's, some Bruno Fernandez's, some Muniz's, some Smith Rowe's.
I'm tempted. I know it shouldn't be, but I'm tempted to pick a player just to have someone in the match because it'll be nice to have that.
Well, Smith Rowe's gonna be on my bench. It's gonna be horrible. Yeah. I don't like that. Alan says, let's go, best FPL stream there is. Thank you very much. The views are still creeping up. We're nearly at 2,500, which is
crazy.
Unbelievable.
There's nothing on TV again, clearly. Fair enough. Yeah.
Do give us a like if you're interested. Do check out the FPL BlackBox Godfather tier Patreon as well for things like the Prediction League, which we'll be talking about in a bit, FPL League with great trophies, Discord channel, and other benefits. We will be doing a Godfather tier meetup next season as well. So you need to be a member to hear all about that. This is from FPL Gaza. Mark, what about Anderson at Forest to replace Bob at 5 million?
No, not yet. I don't know if Anderson starts for game week 1. I think he should. I think he's been good enough pre-season to warrant the start, but it might go to Danilo, and then Anderson's on the bench to come on for one of the wingers, probably Hudson-Odoi with 10 minutes to go, 15 minutes to go. When he gets in the team and when he's cemented his start, which will come, then he might be worth a look. But there's Amad Diallo at 5 million, who's probably the most likely to start for United early on. I don't think he's a keeper, but he's one I would go with in that bracket to start with. And Rodgers is the one to go with. I mean, people will say, well, why are you worried about losing Bob? You can just go straight to Rodgers. I had both Rodgers and Bob. That's why my team was scuppered. I was starting with both of them. And now I will probably go in with Rodgers, but he's the best 5 million option.
Do you have Rodgers, Bob, and Smith Rowe? Do you have all three?
Yeah.
Wow.
I was going all out. I was like, I was all out risk it for the biscuit. I was going to bring it on at Fest. I was going to put that team up and just take the flak. And now I don't know what I'm
these
doing.
days, aren't you?
Yeah, I am. That's all. I'm all for the views and clicks. Yeah, that's what I could do. But yeah, I think that you go Rodgers in the 5 million bracket. There's no point in looking at Anderson yet. Rodgers will play up front.
Clicking back to the live chat, and it highlights a random comment, and that one was "Hi Beardy."
Talking to you? Is he talking to me? Or talking to you?
Could be aimed at either. I think your beard's a bit longer than mine, isn't it, at the moment?
Andreas saying Mark saved by the injuries. How dare you, Andreas? I mean, I think it was who was it? Someone asked, "Do you really think that was a good plan if you were reliant on Bob?" And a lot of people said yes. I was going to win FPL, and not me, but some people did. You don't know, do you? Don't know.
I got to be honest. I was never considering Bob, and I did feel like it was a bit of a disaster waiting to happen for people.
Did you? So, disaster. Yeah. I mean, he's 0.5 more than Harry Winks. How's he going to bring your season down to be a disaster?
Well, people would have played him game week 1 and 2, and he gets nothing against Chelsea and early subbed and doesn't start against Ipswich.
Selling Watkins for Solanke and watching Watkins get a hat-trick, that's a disaster. That's what we did last season, wasn't it?
Yeah, I don't want to talk about any of that. The amount of players I sold before big hauls was pretty instrumental in the failure that was my season. Thank you for the massive super chat from Kenneth 999. Good luck for the new season, boys, and thanks for all the improvements to keep us engaged. Have we made any? Well, I mean, we made StreamYard's an improvement, although everyone's saying
I guess it is blurry. Yeah, well, that one is. I don't know what resolution you got. Anyway, yeah, thank you, Kenneth.
It's perfect
on
my screen, honestly.
I don't know what improvements you're referring to. I don't think that Az and I have improved too much, but we'll try. They're very kind to give us a compliment, but we'll see. We'll see what we do.
5 years. Can you believe we're going into our 5th year of BlackBox?
Yeah, it's 2-2, isn't it? As well. I'm quite nervous now. I was not nervous when I had my team settled. Now I'm like so uncertain about what I'm going to. I'm really I can't find a team I like at the moment. And you saw a glimpse of mine, and you said, "Oh, I like that." So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm being harsh. We'll see what the viewer and the reader thinks, or the listener.
When you set it up for me to hate it, and I looked at it and I thought, actually, that's all right as a non-Haaland team goes. We'll talk about it a bit. Let's have a look at some content now. We've taken a lot of.
Yeah, we've done a lot of questions. We'll come back to. I'll pin that one because I like that one. Gordon versus.
Yeah,
Potter,
we've got another 6 or so super chats to get.
We'll be here till 11 o'clock. Let's just go through the night. You know, I've got nothing else to do.
It's gonna be late.
I haven't had so
much to do. You got to do all your fest prep.
I know, but I'll get it done. I'll just be up to the early morning. I've got tomorrow off work, and I haven't had any food, so I'm going to get delirious soon. So then I could come out of anything and make any kind of.
Is Pip bringing you a pizza? Didn't you say that?
She's apparently. Well, I don't know. I texted her, but she didn't respond, so I don't know how to take that.
Yeah, you ain't getting a pizza.
No. Anyway,
Yells isn't even here. Yells isn't here tonight. She won't bring me any pizza or beer. I'm on my last beer as well. Right, this is your pre-season data. So again, I was looking through this, and I was like, bloody hell, Mark, this is some excellent research you've done here. So this is obviously the players and minutes and returns, right? All in one handy table.
Yeah. So, but what you're showing here, I think, is these are the returns over the pre-season. But which one are you showing here? You're showing the. I'm trying to say. What you're showing here is the players.
Is everyone
with This is the players with the fewest minutes pre-season, but the highest price. So it's basically highlighting players to avoid with game week 1, potentially, right? So these players are all priced high. They're in price order, Palmer at the top, but with the lowest minutes, with less than 90 minutes in pre-season. So all these players have less than 90 minutes. I was surprised that, and with Charleston there, you see, he's had no.
Let's read through these, because I think these are really interesting. So Palmer, Foden, De Bruyne. That's why we're not seeing many teams with those three, even though they're key assets. Watkins with 0% no minutes at all for Ollie Watkins, which might
Yeah,
mean
and yet
Rodgers
41% ownership.
41%, but could mean Rodgers up front.
I think it will. I think that
against West
Rodgers
Ham.
will get an hour up front. Yeah, I imagine.
Yep.
Don't you? I mean, do you see Watkins starting?
No, I don't. No, I think Rodgers starts up front. Mateta has obviously been at the Olympics. Jackson's played just 7.6%, which opens the door for Nkunku to start up front. Anthony Gordon, he only played 45 minutes. He is a bit of a risk given there's Barnes and Murphy, who have both looked good. Tony Diaz was surprising, and obviously he's been off with Colombia, but yeah, he's only played 62 minutes but managed 2 goals in that time.
He
Bowen,
starts though. Bowen starts.
Bowen starts. Gakpo doesn't. Nunes doesn't. Solanke, he's played just 90 minutes. Then going down the list, we've got Eze. Interestingly, obviously off with England again. He's played just 61 minutes. Garnacho, 32 minutes. Calafiori, who we think might be an option at some point, but probably isn't for now because we think Zinchenko is probably going to start at left back. And Trippier, he has played 68 minutes, but potentially Livramento at right back and Hall at left back. So there are some big names there. And like Eze, 35% ownership, Solanke 26, Gordon 30. Trippier's 14% owned. And I don't think he'll start.
I think I think the only player here that I would say won't start possibly is Watkins, highlighted. I expect Gordon to start. I expect Solanke to start. Richarlison will be on the bench, I expect. Eze will start. Garnacho will start. Calafiori probably won't. Trippier probably will. So there's not many of these, but I think that Watkins is a really interesting one because under normal circumstances, you wouldn't expect him to start because no pre-season minutes, surely he won't. But he's so vital to Villa, and they're not going to play Duran because of the summer he spent trying to edge his way out the door. So they can only play Morgan Rodgers up front, which isn't ideal, but he has starred in pre-season. I've heard some Villa fans say, yeah, Rodgers will start up front, but it would be a surprise if Watkins didn't get on the pitch. I'm sure he will, but it's just how many minutes will they give him? Can they take a risk without him at West? If they were at home, I don't think he starts. Away from home, maybe he does. I don't know. I think it's worth going with Rodgers, though. I think he'll get some minutes up front for sure.
Yeah, so do I. Gordon was someone you had in your team last time. I can't remember if he's made the cut for you this second time round, or is he out?
He's in and out. I think that there's some concern, isn't there? And it's like 7-5. I mean, ordinarily, again, you start him in a home game. We saw how strong he was, his home form, when we did a previous episode. And Southampton's a promoted team. I'm predicting a big win for Newcastle, and Gordon should contribute. But are we absolutely certain? It's because of Murphy's pre-season. We're going to see the number of returns that he was the biggest performer in terms of returns in pre-season. So Murphy's an option for Howe, and he can play Barnes on the left. I've seen a lot of people say that Gordon will start on the left, Murphy on the right, and that could be the way it goes. I think he will start, but he won't. He could possibly be just spared the last 30 minutes if they're winning the game, coasting. Then he won't. His X-Mins will take a hit, and we'll see Barnes on. I expect.
Yeah, quite a few people comment about the blurriness of the chart on my screen. On StreamYard, it looks perfect. I've just checked YouTube. It is super blurry. I don't know why. So there's nothing I can do about it at this stage. We have noticed since we've switched to StreamYards, we have had some blurry images. We thought it might be to do with like latency settings on YouTube, but they're all right my end. I've just checked my download, my upload speed. All looks perfect. Don't know why it's so blurry, basically. So I'm afraid
there's not a lot we can fix it on the fly. It will be better when they get the HD version. But yeah, it's obviously Az is hosting for the first time tonight as well, so there might be something in the transfer the files and so on. But there's not a lot we can do on the fly. So
I remember the first few you streamed were quite blurry, but then it got better on like the third one. So yeah, not sure why.
And all we can do is press cameras.
The cameras are fine, but the screen isn't. Let's take a look at the second blurry chart then. This is on pre-season returns, ordered by pre-season returns. And there is a 5.5 million asset at the top of this with 8 returns.
Yes, Murphy,
at
as I said.
1.5% ownership. Yeah, unbelievable. Yeah, I mean, he's definitely going to start game week 1.
You think? You think that's sure? So you think Barnes will be on the bench and okay.
Murphy and Gordon, I think, start that one. Kulusevski's obviously had a great pre-season, 6 returns for him, just 2% owned. Because Delia in the chat has got him, but maybe getting a bit nervy about his minutes. Haaland, Rodgers, Minte, and Wood, all with 5, and Bob, unfortunately, who's now injured. I didn't realise Rodgers had 5 attacking returns in pre-season. Didn't realise it was that many.
Yeah, he's been starting. I watched the Planet FPL correspondence stream on Villa. Really good Villa fan talking on that, and he left me in no doubt that Rodgers is a player we should look at. I mean, I think we've talked in the previous episode about there'll likely be early bandwagons, and there'll be likely players that offer value, and likely it's a midfielder or 1 or 2 midfielders like Minte. For me, Rodgers is the one, now that Bob's out of the question, Rodgers is the one that is most likely to go off early and set the bandwagon rolling. So, and I really think we need one of these price points in our team. It might not be we get the right one. You can go Minte to start with and then move off Minte to the bandwagon that's kicking off. But I know from experience the cost of sitting and being slow on a bandwagon and then watching them increase in price and watch them continue to return. And then you have that reluctance to go in late because you're spending 0.4 or 0.5 more than people who got on early. It's a horrible feeling. It's like, well, if I'd have gone in game week 2, I'd have got them for 0.1 or even for base price.
We've all been there as well. That's like classic, isn't it? Yeah.
And then you make it even longer before you commit. And then before you know it, that player is pivotal to your success. You know, Palmer was a good case in point. Most people got on Palmer early on. But if you didn't and you hesitated, it was painful. Sorry,
bring that up. Someone asked what different colours mean. We've basically highlighted anyone that we think is an option, essentially for the start of the season. I'm going to come back to a player who's just a bit short on this list. Wood is there with 5 returns as well. We think he's going to start over Taiwo at least initially while he builds up fitness. And Nkunku's got 4 returns, the same as Isak, Son, Havertz. Kamada is interesting, especially if Eze leaves. That's another 5.5 million asset. We talked about him on the last show. Jota's got more returns than Salah. Salah's played 75% of available minutes and got 3 attacking returns. Jota's played 44% of available minutes and got 4 returns, which is nice. Lewis Hall, 3 attacking returns for him in defence with Southampton up top and definitely going to start in that one. But I wanted to mention Mbomo because he's being 7 million,
on, isn't he?
Yeah, he's Brentford have been awful defensively pre-season, but pretty good attacking wise. He's got 4 attacking returns. He's 5% owned. It's very low, isn't it?
I guess it was like, we don't know. Tony's starting, so he doesn't have the pens, and that's a big factor. If you remember Mbomo last season, the pens played a really big factor in his early season form. He can provide open play for it. He's clearly, outside of Tony, Brentford's best player, beyond set plays as well. The fixtures aren't superb for Brentford. They're not terrible. They're middling, aren't they? But yeah, he's been overlooked. 7 million is a good price for him because if he was 6'5", it would be an absolute no-brainer. 7 makes you think, and unfortunately, there are better options. Yeah, Gordon and Eze in particular. Who would you rather have, Eze or Mbumo over the season? Well, Mbumo without penalties is no competition because you go Eze. So yeah, if Tony leaves, then suddenly things open up for him, doesn't they? But while Tony's there, he's taking the pens, isn't he? It's hard to know, Brentford. They're not a team I'm going towards. Apart, obviously, Flecken's got a lot of traffic, so I understand that. But I don't think many are looking at their attacking players at all.
Yeah, I like Mbomo at 7, even without pens. I still think he's a bit of a differential. There's a few people in the chat saying they might, they're taking a bit of a punt on him. But yeah, 5% ownership is incredibly low. It's very interesting looking at this chart because it's kind of not really correlating with ownership, is it? It shows like obviously pre-season is a big factor for us, but you look at the top 6 players here in terms of attacking returns, and other than Haaland, it's Rodgers with 8% ownership. The rest, Wood has 5%, Minte has 1.4%, Kulusevski has 2.6%. So all of the best pre-season form players aren't really being backed by a more engaged crowd as well.
Yeah, It's not been a major factor, is it? I think obviously in the bubble that we live in on Twitter, we are, we're perhaps affected by it more than most. We follow Scout and we follow all the news, and we have to gather the information. So we're aware of pre-season form, but the mainstream players not necessarily taking that in. And maybe that's a good thing. There's a lot of theories that support this is just noise, and certainly pre-season form should be ignored. And I understand that. I think every now and then, though, you get a player who does come through pre-season and then produces. I was reminded, I think Nima mentioned Ben Rama a few seasons back. My last good season was when I got a Ben Rama early, and I think he scored at Newcastle in the opening game.
Yeah, I remember.
And then he went on to have a good run. He only had a run of 3 or 4 games where he returned value, but that was enough to get me 15, 20 points and earn me 0.1, 0.2 on him. And that came from his pre-season form. So every now and then it can come in. So I don't necessarily subscribe to the fact that pre-season form is useless. It's hard to pick the player who will carry that form into the season if form is a thing. I mean, it's all down, I guess the X factor is confidence, right? Are there players out there who produce more output because their confidence is boosted by pre-season form? Old school theory that if a striker scores 3 or 4 goals in pre-season, he goes into the season with confidence and is more likely to score. The numbers, the algorithm people will poo-poo that and say that shouldn't be a thing, it's just noise. But for some players, you've got to think that is a factor. And Ben Rama was an example of recently. But overall, we look at this and it means little.
Ben Rama strikes me as a bit like Jacob Murphy, potentially, in the sense that, it's a player who was kind of trying to get into the sides like Murphy is. He's kind of got opportunity now. He's had a good pre-season. If he gets a couple of goals early in the season, then maybe he nails down that spot on the right, because there isn't a lot of competition on the right for Newcastle, is there? It's Barnes and Almiron.
Yeah, but he could end up. They're going to sign somebody. There is no question they're going to sign a right winger. No question. It's well known they're going to go into the market. So before the window shuts, they will spend 40, 50 million on someone. I expect they'll go big on that position.
That's one of our right wingers. We've got about 10 they can choose.
Yeah,
we've got about 10 they can choose from.
Yeah, and I expect that Murphy's start will be under threat very soon. But then equally they could play Gordon and Barnes if they wanted to as well. So there is some rotation risk there. I don't mind Murphy as an early season 1 or 2 game week pick, but they've only really got that good fixture initially. I think after that the fixtures they're okay, but I think they're away. Who are they away to second game? Newcastle? I think it's I want to say West Ham, but I'm a Bournemouth, right? Okay, tight pitch. Don't know what they get there. Yeah, I mean that's not a terrible fixture. So Murphy for the first 2 is worth a look, but expect them to sign a right winger and him to be someone you need to move out. But that's okay. Yeah, I mean there's plenty of options in that bracket, so that's okay.
I think the outlier to that is Nkunku, because he's played 98% of available minutes. He's got 4 attacking returns, and his ownership is 17%. I think if Nkunku had barely played in pre-season and hadn't been scoring, I don't think people would. I think his ownership would be about half that. So he's the one that I think people have looked at and said, okay, he's fit now, because that was obviously a big worry with him, and he's getting the minutes. Oh, and he's scoring. That's made him such a good asset for the start of the season.
Yeah, and he had a sparkling pre-season last time out, and then got the injury. So he was in a lot of our squads during pre-season, and obviously we had to remove him. And it's happened again. He's been impressive in pre-season. So can he carry that through? If he didn't have City opening day, he would have 25% ownership, I expect. But that City fixture just gives you that idea or that inkling that you can probably do better in the short term. Yeah.
I still think there's goals. Duncan, please don't sing the Cucurella song. It's embarrassing. And his advert for Estrella made me cringe harder than anything I think I've ever cringed at in my life. So we'll have less of that on the channel. Final pre-season table we have is the 4 million options. I think Ben Johnson is now probably clear as the top option, which makes me feel really sad to say, given the Barca and how much I've been singing his praises and the fact he's at 21% ownership. But I do think Johnson is, if you just want someone who's just going to play, he's probably the one. There's Howard Bellis as well, at 65%. It's who's the other? Bella Kotchap's off, isn't he? But Howard Bellis is obviously going to be key for them. 11% ownership. But yeah, I mean, what I mean by a 4 million player is the best one is if you have no intention of playing them and you just want them to sit on your third bench for the next 6-7 weeks until you wildcard, I would go Johnson. If you want a shot of someone with a bit more upside and you might be wildcarding a bit earlier, then go for Barco, which is what I'm doing. Actually, I'm going to have them both. But if I was going to pick one, I'd go Barco just for that potential upside. But I think Johnson is the safer 4 million pick.
Yeah, I mean, the trouble is Ipswich and Southampton, they're going to concede a lot of goals. So there'll be times where you think I'll be better off not playing them and not taking a hit on losing points. So yeah, they're certainly not guaranteed to get you 2 points when they come in, these two. So a lot of game weeks they'll pick up a single pointer or worse, I imagine. Harwood Bellis probably he does have more threat going forward because Johnson plays on the right, and we know that Leif Davis will push up on the left, and Johnson will probably have to be pinned back with the centre backs. So I imagine if you were choosing one of these two, I would go Harwood Bellis for the set pieces because at least there's something there in terms of upside on top of the clean sheet potential, which will be very low, I think, for both of them. Mosquera looks like he's going to start the season for Wolves and could keep his place, but Wolves have got the worst fixtures of all the teams over the first 6. So, short-term returns are going to be minor as well. And he might not hold his place because, you can expect Wolves to go shopping in that area. They lost Kilman. So, and there's uncertainty on who gets in, who are the first choice centre-backs there at Wolves. He has got pre-season minutes. 335, 58% of the preseason minutes. So he looks likely to start the season, but is he a long-term pick after the window? Probably not. So yeah, Harwood Bellis are probably my choice now.
Wow, exciting stuff. Ben Haley has asked who's as. The reason I flagged this one is because I'm pretty sure, and this is a massive coincidence, that Ben Haley is someone I work with who has now discovered this stream. And I know they're out for some drinks tonight, which I said no to because I didn't want to miss out on Thursday night BlackBox. So if that is you, Ben, hope you're having fun with the Explory lot. And yeah, thanks for tuning into the stream. If they're all just sat around in a pub watching this on the stream, then
I know it's hilarious. Chris Dana saying Nedeljkovic is one to watch. He is. So there's a lot of talk this 18-year-old could oust Matty Cash for the right back role. That's if Conte doesn't play out there. So he could be one to watch, but not one to get in from the initially. He has played minutes pre-season. He is a real promising player. A lot of the Villa fans saying that they prefer him to start right back over Cash, if that's going to be the case. But you've got to think that Cash starts, even though we're led to believe Cash is perhaps due for pastures new soon. So Nedeljkovic, you're right, Chris, is one to watch.
Yep. Right, let's take some more super chats. So we've got a bit of a break until we get onto some other bits. Let's take this one from Crisscross. Just saw Phillips to Ipswich. Sounds good. It does sound good. I'm happy for him. Seems like it's a bit of a downgrade from Man City, but I think it should hopefully be a good move for both parties.
Well, we would have won the Euros had he been in the England team, of course. I don't know what's gone wrong with Calvin Phillips. He obviously had a seasons where he looked like he was England's, in the defensive midfield role for England and going to City and could do great things. Never really got anywhere near their first team, and Rodri obviously dominant in that position. You've got to think that he'll have a renaissance, and I think it's a smart signing by Ipswich. He's a player who's got something to prove.
Didn't work at West Ham though, did it? When he went there,
no, it didn't. And again, he had competition for his place there. Whereas Ipswich, we know from talking to Dan, the midfield area, central midfield area, is the one where he felt they were weakest. So this is recruitment that we expected to see. And Ipswich are shopping in that market where if they're going to sign somebody, it's got to be a player that, Phillips has got good pedigree, but they're only going to get that type of player if they're on their trajectory is on the down and they've got something to prove. And it's like the Barkley signing for Luton. Look what happened to there. They signed a player there who was a shadow of his former self before, and then they led to his renaissance. He had a fantastic season and now going to be playing for Villa in the Champions League. Same could happen to Phillips, and I guess that's what Ipswich are gambling on. And I think they've moved smartly over the summer. I think they've not done what Forest did, which was to go mad and throw as much shit at the wall and hope that some sticks. They've done strategic. I've said it twice now. We'll probably get taken down by YouTube. Yeah, but whether Phillips will give them the answer, it is a gamble. There's no question. But I think it's a smart signing. Yeah. Do you want to move to the? Do you want to move to the start screen so we don't have a blurry table on the
Oh yeah, good
screen?
idea.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
We'll sort that next week. Don't worry. We'll be back with non-blurry graphics next week. Don't worry.
Is it blurry on your screen on StreamYard?
Yeah, a little bit, but I'm putting that down to your internet connection. So that's all fine. We'll sort for next week.
Yeah, we'll sort out. Bowen's asked Stephen Gallagher. Hi guys, has Bowen been in your thoughts at all? Just been made captain, I believe, of West Ham. 7-5. Done well for us in previous seasons. I've not once flirted with the idea.
Have you not?
Nah.
He's been in and out of my team in the last 24 hours, actually.
Who hasn't?
Yeah, it's true. The thing is, he's proven, right? He's a strong, very strong attacking asset. He's in, he'll be in the top 30 for XGI non-penalty all season in our midfield table that we show, the non-blurry one that we show as the season starts. He won't get. He's not on set plays. Well, he's on corners, but he's not going to be on pens. He is going to be part of a West Ham team that look exciting. They look like they're going to score goals from the signings that they've made and the potential lineup they can put out there. Obviously, they've signed a new number 9, and we don't know what that's going to do to Bowen's output. So that I guess that's it. It's like there's a little bit of disruption in that club with the incoming players they've signed, which means that we don't necessarily know if he's going to translate what we saw in previous seasons to returns this season. But in terms of a proven player who could be a differential, Villa and Palace first 2, okay fixtures. I think they score in both games. But do they score more than 1 goal in those games? It's debatable, isn't it? So that puts me off him. I like to think that Bowen, though, will be a factor in our seasons because we want that type of player to be in our thoughts because he's a good player, fairly kindly priced. But at the moment, he's playing second fiddle to Eze and Gordon in that range, isn't he? And now Jota as well. So that's why he's being overlooked. Yeah, I wouldn't go there to start with. I think the fixtures just go against him.
Yeah, I mean, you could argue with Eze's, linking with Man City and with Gordon's, not quite security of whether he's going to start, that Bowen is actually quite a good option, especially because it's against the Villa side without Luiz, and we're not quite sure how they're going to be. I mean, they weren't a great defensive side last season anyway, were they? So it's not completely beyond the realms of possibility that he's going to do quite well in that game. I don't hate it. I'm not seeing him in many teams. I don't know what his ownership is. It's probably quite low, isn't it? About, I'd guess 12% as a guess. What do you reckon?
Let's have a look live on the show. Let's have a look.
I'm going to say 12%. 7%.
Yeah, I mean, for me, though, how many goals do they score in those 2 games against Villa at home, Palace away? It's between 2 and 3 goals, isn't it? They're not scoring more than that. I know what you're saying about Villa. They've got a Nana low. I think I've tipped 1-1 for this. I don't think it'll be a game of goals. I think it'll be a cagey start. And then going to Palace, Selhurst Park, under Glasner, they've lost players as well, and they might have lost Gahey by then, or he might not start because he's on his way out. So there is potential that, because we don't know what we're going to get from Villa and Palace defences, it could be that West Ham score 3 to 4 goals. But personally, I wouldn't back more than a couple over those 2. And is that enough for Bowen to return heavily? I expect him to get something out of the first 2, but it might just be an assist. And if you look at Jota going to Ipswich and then at home to Brentford, I'd much rather have Jota. It's simple as that, isn't it?
Yeah, I think Jota's so clear of Bowen, at least initially, but Bowen will be a factor for us a bit later on. But yeah, I definitely go Jota in the short to medium term. God, we're going back to questions asked like an hour ago. Yeah, it's crazy. This is from Albin again. Wood to João Pedro and Anderson to Munoz. Wood and Anderson or Pedro and Munoz?
Wood will start. João Pedro's a long-term concern now with the signings that have come in or coming in. But Wood will be replaced in that Forest lineup within 4 to 6 weeks, I would say. Awani is going to take time to get fit. I would say it'll take him a month to get fit. So I think Wood will be, if you're wildcard in between 3 and 4, then you can start with Wood and then wildcard away. If you're looking to extend the wildcard further and you think you're going to need to make swaps elsewhere in your team, then you don't really want Wood as another headache. You go Muniz, because Muniz has great fixtures, and I can't see him being a risk of rotation. Jimenez will take some minutes of him, Raul, or whatever you want to call him. But I feel that, well, some people call him Raul, some people call him Jimenez, don't they?
That sounded so sassy.
Yes, sorry. So I think Muniz is a standout in the 6 million bracket, so I would go him. But if you're wildcarding in game week, ahead of game week 4, Wood's a great option because of the first 3 fixtures. And I think he will return a couple of goals in the first 3.
Yeah,
so there you go.
I would go
Muniz if you're wildcarding after game week 4, Wood if you're not.
Yeah, no, I agree. Although it is Munoz.
Oh no, I thought
as in the question was about Munoz, not Munoz.
Oh yeah, well that's Wood to yeah. I think he means the Fulham striker though, surely.
Yeah, I see, because otherwise it wouldn't make any sense. No, Wood to João Pedro and Anderson.
No, Anderson to Mooney. Oh, I see. Right. So what he wants to do there, yeah, he wants to downgrade Wood to João Pedro so he can afford Munoz to replace Anderson.
To Munoz. Yeah.
Yeah, I would. Is that going to be worth it? Is that going to be worth it? I think again, if you're wildcarding game week 4, then I would keep with Wood and Anderson. If you're looking more long term, if you're looking to wildcard after that, it's the João Pedro question, isn't it? It's like, how much under threat is he going to be when those signings come in? You've got to think it's going to take 3 to 4 weeks between Ruta is settled and threatening João Pedro's start. And we might even see João Pedro move to the 9 and Ruta come in the 10. So if you're not going to wildcard game ahead of game week 4, I would go João Pedro and Munoz, I think. Risk it. Because I think long-term Munoz is going to return better than Anderson. It's close, isn't it? But
I don't really understand why anyone's picking Wood.
Well, short-term,
like,
first 3 fixtures.
You think he starts all 3?
Yeah.
Okay.
He will start all 3.
I just think there's massive risk there, surely, with having IE.
Well, I wouldn't say it's massive. I'd say,
No?
I'd say after the break that Awani will start, I think. But it's going to take him, he's going to have sub appearances in the first couple of games, and maybe Wolves at home he might start that one, but I don't see it. I think Wood will start the first 2 and probably do enough, which means he starts all 3. So you'll get those first 3 plum fixtures before Forest go to Liverpool. But you're going to need to get rid of him after the break, because I think Awani will come in at that point. Yeah.
Barry says Wood is always in the early riser. Yeah,
we had to go there. Barry had to go there, didn't he?
I saw you made a Chris Wood joke on Twitter the other day. I thought I was beneath you.
What, Harry's expense? Yeah, I kind of felt I was disappointed with myself, and I noticed Harry didn't like it, so I feel ashamed now.
I saw it and screenshotted it.
Sorry, Harry. Sorry. Gone in the folder.
It's got, of course it has. Gothic Van Life bring back the charity shield. Cash to charity, yeah. Forget all this community shield nonsense. Charity shield was the way.
And Milk Cup.
This is a Milk Cup, absolutely. This is from Deck. Thank you for the super chat. Bailey Hall and Smith Rowe, or Porro, Gibbs White, and Eze, or Winks. I'm guessing Winks.
Oh my God!
I'm guessing Winks wouldn't be a starter in this.
Bailey
situation.
Hall and Emil Smith Rowe, or Porro, Gibbs White, and Winks, or Gibbs White and Eze and Winks. Oh, that's a tough one, isn't it? I do really like both Porro. Options.
Yeah, I really like Porro. I think Bailey Hall and Smith Rowe would edge it for me.
I think so too, because what you got there is 3 active players. I think Bailey you're getting on early for the Villa fixtures. Smith Rowe's going to be a gift that keeps on giving, and Hall's very good game week 1. I'd want Porro though. Out of the other option, I'd find a way of getting Porro. I don't think you need Gibbs White, Eze, and you certainly don't need Winks. And the issue with Winks is, you're getting a 1 point, 2 point player there. Whereas I think
slating Harry Winks. You did this last week.
I don't think you need to get a 4-5 mid when you can get a really effective 5 million mid. Obviously, it's 0.5 and it makes a difference. But can you not find that? Say, the jump from Winks to Rodgers is huge for me. I think at the end of the season, there's going to be 50 points in that. I would say. Yeah. And I know you're not signing players now for the long term, but Rodgers could be. Rodgers could score game week 1 and be 5-2 by game week 2. And so I just think you find the extra 0.5, and you go Winks to Rodgers, don't you? So I wouldn't get Winks myself, unless you really have to, unless you're absolutely skin-flinting and that unlocks something that you think is going to make your early game weeks.
Am I crazy for thinking there isn't much between Smith Rowe and the 6-5s?
There's not
either.
a lot.
I'd still be considering Smith Rowe with Fulham's fixtures, even if he was 6-5.
I agree, and you know, if you look at review, it says the same. If you look at the algorithm and you show me the best 6-5 mid over the opening 3-4 games, Smith Rowe's right up there. I think he was even top at one point. So I do think because of the fixtures, and I think that's fair enough. I think that Smith Rowe we've seen, and we know he's playing in the 10. We know he's going to be high up. He's going to be in and around Muniz, all the knockdowns. And Fulham, I think, will have to be an attacking team because I don't think defensively they're sound enough, having lost Paulina. That might change. They will make signings. But I think they're going to concede goals and score goals. And that's good if you're getting on Smith Rowe. I agree. I think I would go him over a 6-5 at the moment because of the saving. Yeah.
It's one of the reasons why in the end I took Nkunku down to Smith Rowe, and actually having that extra million let me go up to Gordon. So, you know, I was able to get in Gordon. I was able to bring in Rodgers. I did Eze to Gordon. Oh, I'll show you in a bit. But yeah, I was able to make some upgrades, some pretty decent upgrades with that.
I love this comment from Deck. Thank you, men. Looking forward to watching all season. We're described as men.
Menly men. That's us.
I'll take that as a compliment, to be honest. But, yeah.
Yeah, I quite like that. Do you want to carry on with the content, or should we take some more super chats?
Let's take another one, shall we? I don't know what we got left up our sleeve.
This is from we've got quite a bit. We've got goal scorers, and we've got
predictions, of course,
and predictions.
Yeah.
Goal scorers and predictions. Let's do the goal scorers at 1:30, and then let's do another 8 minutes of these. Gaurav, I'm contemplating Solanke, Smith Rowe, and Murillo. I like all three of those options very much. Versus Muniz, Nkunku, and Munoz. Which do you think are better? Oh, I like them all. I literally like all of those picks. It's very rare to get something like that, a 3-on-3, and like them all. But I do. I'll let you. I think I.
Yeah, I mean, over the first couple of games, I like Spurs' first 2 games. I think Spurs score 4 to 5 goals against Leicester and Everton. So I would say they're going to score 4 to 5 goals over those 2 games. So Solanke, you got to think, could return pretty handsomely early on. You need to get on Fulham from game week 2 in some capacity, I would say, because Leicester, Ipswich, West Ham, Newcastle, their run is so strong. And Forest have got a good first 3. So I would say the first option, Solanke, Smith Rowe, Murillo, just edges it for me. Because I do think that Smith Rowe is the stronger option over Muniz for Fulham. I think Solanke's first 2 means that he'll return earlier and better than Nkunku. And the Palace defence, I don't know how much we can rely on that. And it's Brentford, West Ham, Chelsea. I think they could easily concede in all 3 of those games. Whereas I think Forest will get 1 clean sheet out of the first 3. So if you're going to game week 3 and wildcarding in 4, then the first option for me, Solanke, Smith Rowe, Murillo. There you go. I answered it. Where are you going?
Yeah, you did. I agree. My first thing I look at with something like this is who's the best. Like you've got 6 different players there. Who is the best one? And I think that quite clearly is Solanke out of the 6, especially for the first 2. But he could. The sky's the limit for what he could do in those first 2 games. So, do I think Smith Rowe and Murillo is that much worse than Nkunku and Munoz? No, because Forest have got really good games, a good 3. They should keep at least 1 clean sheet in those. And we've talked about Smith Rowe. I think he's amazing value and he has a great run. So I think they're both all 6 of those players should do well. But I would back the first 3, mostly because it's got Solanke in it.
Yeah, exactly. I think getting on Spurs for the first 2 in some capacity, I wouldn't say is essential. But like I say, I see 4 or 5 goals for Spurs against Leicester and Everton collectively. I think they can go to Leicester and win 2 or 3-0, and I think they can beat Everton by 2 goals at least. So, therefore, you're looking at an output of 4 to 5 goals, whereas you look at Chelsea and think, right, how many are they going to score against City and Wolves away? I think possibly 2 to 3 goals at most over those 2 games. And Solanke's playing up front, and Nkunku's probably in one of the 10 roles and probably will get less minutes over the 2 games than Solanke as well. Solanke could be on pens, we don't know yet. So it's strongly weighted in Solanke's favour. When you're comparing the best 2 players there, which are Solanke and Nkunku, in terms of price, Solanke wins it by some margin, I think, over the first 3 games. Over the season, Nkunku could outscore him and be a great option. But we've got to think you're going to make transfers. So get the points in early. And I think that's the first trio over the second. Yeah.
My plan is Gordon, game week 1, assess Nkunku, and then move if I need to after game week 1.
Yeah.
Because I do think Nkunku could be unbelievable, but I'd like to see it first.
Yeah, I mean, my concerns about it is we haven't yet seen Maresca's systems bedding in, have we? I mean, they've been pretty disastrous pre-season. They've scored some goals, but they've let in some horrors. And what is the normal reaction to letting in goals and having defensive problems? Well, it's not going on the attack and scoring loads of goals. It's normally be more pragmatic, be more solid. And that doesn't lend itself to returns for Nkunku. Now, I'm speculating, but obviously if a manager sees loads of goals going in one end in pre-season, is he going to go gung-ho against Man City at home? Probably not.
Yeah.
So what do we really expect from Chelsea in that first game? I expect them to be trying to contain City and try and break on them. Are they going to score 2 or 3 goals? I don't see it.
I've gone the other way.
Have you?
I've gone for them. I think it might take a couple of weeks for them to settle down and realise they can't just be gung-ho as Maresca kind of learns the league.
We must have Chelsea fans in the chat. Rubber Ducky was in earlier. See if Rubber Ducky's still around. See what he thinks. But I think we need to sit tight on Chelsea until we've seen Maresca and how his system settles in. And like I say, the byproduct of letting goals in pre-season could be a more cautious approach to the start. Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. FPL Pro has gifted a BlackBox membership. Thank you very much. Very generous from you. It's always funny, isn't it? I think it goes to the next commentator. The gifting of the membership.
It does.
So
that's right. Yeah,
it's fun. Yeah, so be on the lookout for those. Not sure who got that, but I think Focal was in the chat earlier and he said he got one.
He doesn't need any gifts. He's fine.
I know. He joined our he joined the Patreon, not the
Thank
Patreon.
You,
he joined
Oscar.
the. No, I thought we already had a membership. He must have cancelled it anyway. But yeah, thank you, Oscar. Appreciate it. Mark Cram, Son or Saka? Good question for you, Mark. And best 4.5 million keeper rotation. Pairing.
I haven't looked at that. I haven't looked at 4 or 5 keepers because I've settled on my keepers. So if you go and get a view on that. Son or Saka? I would say I think Saka's a better option. I do like Son over the first 2, but if you're going to choose one and you're not wildcarding in game week 4, then I would go Saka over Son. Yeah, I just think he's definitely got the pens, obviously. We don't know if Son will retain them. Son will be out wide probably all season. Saka is out wide, but we know his output out there is reliable, home and away, against top 8, bottom 6. We saw that last week in the episode we did last week. Son's career is, I hesitate to say, on a downward trajectory because I don't think it is necessarily, but obviously Saka is on the rise still. Who would you say is still improving as a player? You would go Saka.
A natural downward trajectory.
Yeah, natural one because where he is in his career. Whereas Saka's probably still on the up and probably has his best season to come. Does Son have his best Premier League season to come? Probably not. He's probably had it. So I don't mean had it literally, but because I love Son. But I think Saka edges it for me. Where are you going with the best 4-5 keeper rotation? Well, Henderson and one other.
Yeah, I like the Henderson and Muric, Ipswich goalkeeper. That would give you Brentford away, West Ham at home, Fulham at home, Leicester at home, Southampton away, and Everton away. It's pretty good, isn't it?
Have you looked at Flecken? I mean, Flecken's very popular as well, isn't he? So, do you look at a Flecken rotation?
Well, they've got 3 good home games in the first 6, and then 3 awful away games. So,
but Flecken and Henderson's pretty good as well.
From what I can see. That would get you Palace, West Ham, Southampton, Leicester, Man United, West Ham. Yeah, that is good.
West Ham, Wolves, Forest, Ipswich, Wolves. So for me, it's Fleck and Henderson, isn't it? If you're going 2-4, that's what it looks like to me. And we know Henderson's number one. There's not any doubt of that because Johnston's probably on his way out of the club. Flecken starts. So you're getting save points there. I don't know about a 4-5 rotation. I've not looked at it as an option. I mean, the danger with that, and I have done it before, is you're getting it wrong each week, and it's very frustrating. So you need a rotation where you're absolutely sold on the preferred option, and there's no dilemma to it. But would you consider it? Have you looked at it at all over the summer? Potential? Have you always looked at a 4-5 and a 4?
I'm never doing it again. Honestly, that year when I had, I started off with Ward and Everson, and that was a disaster. And then I ended up with Ward and Henderson, and I got it wrong literally every single week. They're so hard to predict when you're going to get a goalkeeper haul. And even with good fixtures, if you're picking players from like Brentford and Palace, even like a good home fixture doesn't always translate into points. It's different if you've got like a Raya or someone, because you know they're much more likely to get one. But like, Brentford aren't good at keeping clean sheets. Palace are. I just think if you're gonna spend 4-5 on a goalkeeper, just spend 4-5 on a goalkeeper. Don't add another one into the mix.
Yeah, and then you play them week in, week out.
Just because I've never got it right before. I'd rather have Pope, for example, and a 4 million than try and get the rotation right.
Yeah, or Leno or something like that. Yeah, till you pay the extra 0.5. But
or a Pickford, because we know he's going to be up there.
If you're doing it, Fleck and Henderson's the way to go.
Yep. Okay. Well, I still like Muric, but it's fine. We can disagree. Let's take a look at, this is brilliant stuff from Rob T FPL. So we've got a couple of screens from this. So this is his team top projected scorers. So this is top 3 projected season-long scorers for each team. Hopefully people can see, or at least start to try and make this out on if it's a little bit blurry. But I mean, a lot of this is pretty obvious, right? Saka, Havertz, and Odegaard, 70 goals predicted for Saka, 14 for Havertz, Odegaard, Watkins, Bailey, Rodgers. That's all fine. It's all good. Then we get to teams like Leicester. So they're predicting Mavididi and Vardy at 7-3. And then it's the man that you keep slating every stream, Mr. Harry Winks.
Yeah, but just draw your attention. Mr. Harry Winks is getting 1.8 goals. Rodgers for 0.5 more, 7 goals. And we haven't even talked about assists yet. Right. So look at that gap. How big is that gap? It's easily 50 points. Are you not finding 0.5 for a 50-point gap? Of course you are. Yeah. And Rodgers could do more than that. You just don't know.
I mean, my point wasn't to slate Harry Winks again. My point was
but I still turned it. I still turned it round to slating Harry Winks. Sorry, Harry.
You did. It's very, very impressive. But yeah, I think Leicester, like Vardy's not going to get 7 goals this season, is he? I'd be very surprised. Mavididi could get 7 to 10, something like that. But the fact they haven't got anyone else.
Yeah, the bookies are looking at the options, right? So they're giving Leicester a total goals tally, and they're looking at the options. It's the same way the models work. They use bookies odds to do this. And so when a team has got very few goal scoring options, you're going to see the goals split amongst the options they have got, right? Sensibly. Mavididi on pens as well, right? So they're presuming that he's going to share them with Vardy. Yeah, Vardy, I don't know. No one's going anywhere near Leicester as attacking options, are they?
No,
nowhere near.
But I just looked at these and I saw Leicester with those 3, Southampton with Armstrong and Diaz. Like at least, I don't know, I would back both of those to get 8 to 10 goals, which isn't too bad. Ipswich, look at Ipswich. Chaplin, Delap, and Hutchinson, like 6 or 7 goals each, and that's probably
they tend to spread the goals out, don't they? They don't have a central striker who scores a lot of goals for under McKenna, but again, you're not looking there. I mean, Armstrong for Southampton, what was his predicted output? Not double figures. I think he'll get double figures. I think he will. I mean, Rodgers is the standout for me. Again, 5 million, and he's predicted 7 goals to Bailey's 7.5. Yes, Bailey will get more assists, but there's 1.5 million in that, and yet the bookies here are saying that Rodgers is going to get almost the same number of goal returns as Bailey. Again, it underlines the value that he offers. Semenyo 7.8, he's 5.5 as well. Kluivert's 5.5, 7.8. So it does highlight a few bargains in that bracket again here, doesn't it?
And Smith Rowe's there at 6. just under Muniz and Raul. So again, 5.5 million asset is doing well. So
yeah. Should say this is before Bournemouth signed the new striker today. I think that deal's going through. So Semenyo is a short term.
About 40 million or something. I haven't even heard of it.
45 million euros.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Gamble. But, yeah.
Yep. This is the kind of the same chart projected goals and share of team goals for game week 1. So when looking at our captains, Isak is top of this. 60% chance he scores at least 1 goal, and a 20% chance he scores 2. Haaland just shy of that. 55% chance of a goal, 20% chance of 2. And then it's all the kind of likely assets: Salah, Saka, Havertz. I don't know what Darwin's doing in there, but don't go there. Son, and then Jesus, Gakpo, Jota. But yeah, I mean, Isak, Haaland, and Salah just probably are the best captains this week. I mean, you could also add Saka onto that as well. So it's the top 4 really that people are looking for. So it kind of bears out in that. Have you wavered on Isak at all?
No. I mean, we haven't got data to look at tonight. We haven't really had a debate about the captaincy. I think it's really Isak or Salah or Saka. I don't think Haaland really enters the equation, despite what this data shows. I think in terms of FPL, the strongest options are Isak, Salah and Saka in that order. Then probably Haaland comes up after that. You wouldn't be surprised for Haaland to return, but the other 3 are probably more likely to get a double return, either a goal and assist, 2 goals, or whatever. Isak, we saw in the last episode how strong he is at St James's Park, how strong he is against bottom 6 sides. That was only last season's data. We haven't got more than that to go on necessarily, but I'd still back him to get at least 1 return. And of the players listed there at the top, he's probably the most likely to get 2 returns, I would say.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's too much debate on the captaincy there. I think Salah's obviously a fine option at Ipswich, no question. Saka could easily get a return in a win for Arsenal against Wolves, but Isak for me is somewhat ahead, just as the bookies say here. I guess the bookies are presuming 90 minutes here as well, or presuming a start, which is why Darwin's up there, right? Which is not going to happen, because I think he's certainly going to be on the bench at best.
The share on the right, I just saw a comment about it, represents the likelihood they're involved in, how likely how the percentage of goals they're likely to be involved in, essentially. So that drops Saka down, for example, 22%, because obviously there's so many other players that could assist or score in that game. And it's Haaland with 40%. So Haaland's got the highest predicted share of goal involvement within the team. So if you think City are going to score 4 or 5 past Chelsea, which is beyond the realms of possibility, even with their depleted squad, you'd expect him to have the most involvement. But Isak,
it's not goal involvement though. It's well, it is goal as in score with
total goals.
Yeah, it's not factoring in assists here, which is where I think obviously Salah and Saka will overtake Haaland in terms of pure likelihood of involvement in goals or assists. Numbers. I would say, I think Salah and Saka probably beat Haaland this week. And they're saying Haaland's most likely to get 2 goals more than Isak. I don't really agree with that. They are saying Isak's favourite to get 2+, 21%. Yeah, that's how I see it. But it's share, I guess. I think that's what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, with so many players out for City, it's a struggle to see who else can score goals in the first game for them. I mean, Rodrigo could turn up with one. It could be someone unexpected, of course. Rodrigo often does against tough teams.
If he starts.
Yeah, but he's unlikely to start, and De Bruyne is unlikely to start, Foden unlikely to start. Their sources of goals are kind of dried up, aren't they? There, Doku could start and get something, Grealish, I guess, but neither of them two are what you would describe prolific for midfield so far. So I'm not surprised to see that share predicted.
Yep. And then the final one of these is over the season, so projected goal involvements, again through the spreading markets. Haaland at the top of this, 33.5. Salah very high on this at 28.5. I mean, obviously not too surprising given the seasons he's had, but again, you talk about players on a natural downward trajectory. You've got to think it's going to start happening for Salah at some point. Saka's at 27.5, Palmer at 25.5, and Son just under that at 25, and Foden the bottom of those kind of mid-price midfielders at 24.5. 20.3. Isak 20.9. He's quite some way down from kind of the others, and a bit down from Watkins as well. I'm surprised he's not higher, actually.
Yeah, I mean, I plan to move Isak out to Watkins early on to get on the Villa run. So I'm not getting Isak in game week 1 as a player I'm necessarily going to hold on to. Obviously, that might change. It depends on how long Watkins takes to get up to speed, how Villa start, how Newcastle start, maybe. But I think a sensible move is Isak initially and then move him off to Watkins for game week 3.
Yeah.
For the extra 0.5. So I'm keeping 0.5 reserved to do that because the Villa fixtures are so strong. And like the bookies, I do think Watkins is a stronger player in terms of output. Obviously, I think he got 18 assists last season, right? He'll not repeat that, but he is more likely to assist than Isak. Doesn't have the pens, we don't know, but unlikely to have the pens, we think, Watkins. So that's in Isak's favour. And Villa do have European football, Champions League football, which could disrupt them. And we don't know yet what that's going to do to them, but we can predict, like it did to Newcastle, that it will result in a downturn in their fortunes in the Premier League. Does it mean fewer goals? Maybe. So there's unknowns with Villa, but I do think those fixtures are so good from game week 3 onwards. You've got to get on one of their attack, and obviously Watkins is the go-to. I mean, what I take from this is the value that Eze can provide. I mean, he's high up there of 18.3. But with the uncertainty about where his future lies potentially, that's the outlier there. Because if he goes to City, that's dropping through the floor.
Yep. No, agree with that. Should we look at some predictions?
Yeah, the new predictions for BlackBox. I mean, you've got some people to thank for this, right?
We do, yeah. We'll come to that in one sec. There's a good comment here, which is tonight's stream sponsor should be sponsored by Specsavers, which I like. The sponsor for BlackBox this week is actually Sleeper, who we mentioned last week. And the reason why we like Sleeper so much is because they're a perfect partner for the predictions that we're going to be talking about in a bit. So there's a QR code on the screen. There's 2,700 people watching. I would love you all to give it a scan. You can take a screenshot if you're on like an iPhone, and then you can get the link through there. Or if you're watching this on TV or whatever, just grab it with your phone. That will get you into the Pick'em BlackBox League, where there's £8,000 worth of prizes to win. It's completely free to play, no gambling, no crypto, anything like that. All you've got to do each week is predict the outcome of 10 games, and the person who predicts the most every month will win like an Xbox, a PlayStation, a Steam Deck, an iPhone, an iPad. You can literally choose whatever you want up to the value of £500 a month. And then the overall winners, first, second, and third, are going to win vouchers worth £1,500, £1,000, and £500. Is there any reason not to get involved, Mark?
I can't think of a reason other than the blurriness means the QR code doesn't work, but it does work. I've just checked it. Yeah. No, we were staggered, weren't we, when we spoke to Sleeper and the generosity, how they're supporting the FPL world. Because and you'll notice a lot of the FPL content creators have got on board with Sleeper. And why not? Because they're a new player into the UK fantasy market, and they're here to make a big noise about it. And talking to them, they're just a breath of fresh air when it comes to partners. They understand what we do, they understand the FPL, and they're being very generous with the prizes that they're able to give out, which is obviously great for us building our own following and community. So yeah, I mean, even if you don't follow them via us, do follow them via one of the other content creators that you no doubt watch, because I think they deserve some attention for your attention for the amount of love they've shown the FPL community through the content creators so far over the summer. So hats off to Sleeper.
Absolutely, well said. And what they're looking to do is just build an app which integrates scores, news. There's a draft game, there's a fantasy game. They've got. I was talking to one of the heads earlier. I said this on Scout, on the Q&A with Sam, and like when you can watch, obviously the 3 o'clock games, you can't watch the whole match, but you can sort of see the heat map and the action of where things are happening and where the ball is live. They've got that built into the app, but with like a chat room as well, so you can actually talk to people following the match similarly, and you can see how that affects your FPL teams. I don't know. I think it's really going to take off, and they've absolutely smashed the US market. They're coming over to the UK. bringing in all these great things. And yeah, just give them a try, see what you think of it. It's a slick app, and you'll be supporting BlackBox as well by getting
sponsoring Fest as well
league
tomorrow. So they'll be sponsoring Fest, so which is great. They supported that as well, and hopefully they stick around in the community, and long may they be a supporter of us and other content creators. Really good.
Absolutely.
Right, let's look at the predictions.
Yes, let's go over to our own predictions, and you can also get involved in these as well as Sleeper. FPL BlackBox Godfather tier patrons will be able to compete against Mark and I in the predictions that we do each week. There will be a trophy for the winner of this. The only caveat is you've got to make 200 predictions or more over the season. So if you want to get involved in this, join the Patreon, start doing your predictions straight away. And I've got to give just such a massive shout out to Lee and Liv, who have built a website for us where we can track all these predictions. And it's going to make our lives easier because we haven't got to send each other files with all the all the scores in and stuff. It automatically comes through. So massive shout out to them. They've worked so hard over pre-season, and it's a really cool perk of the Godfather tier league. So check that out if you're interested. The trophy's amazing. I'll get some photos of that as well. And obviously you can play Pick'em alongside that. The QR code's on the screen for this too. But yeah, in terms of predictions, Ipswich Liverpool first game. You've gone for a 3-0 Liverpool. I've gone for a 4-1.
Yeah, I was unsure whether Ipswich will score, and because I've got 2 Liverpool defenders in my lineup, I've obviously gone with the clean sheet. Can't predict a non-Liverpool clean sheet and then pick 2 of their defenders. So yeah, I mean, I've seen Liverpool start the season. Well, Salah always scores game week 1, of course. I think he's scored for 5 consecutive seasons now on game week 1. Always returns. So you've got I want Ipswich to stay up. I really do, because I love McKenna. I love his approach to football. I think they are going to surprise a few, but I don't think they're going to surprise us on the opening game week. I think Liverpool are going to have far too much for them. Have a lot of the ball, a lot of possession, a lot of passing, and unfortunately, probably 3 goals or more. And yeah, that's it for me. 3-0. You're going 4-1.
I think they nick 1, just given it's the first home game of the season. There might be a bit of rust in Liverpool, and they're going to be really up for it. But I think it's going to be a rout either way. Arsenal Wolves. I've gone for a 3-0 Arsenal. You've gone for a 2-0. I expect this to be pretty routine for Arsenal. They've looked strong pre-season. Saka's back. Wolves have lost their best player. Can't see anything more than a big Arsenal win.
Yeah, disruption in the Wolves' defence, I guess, makes you wonder what how resolute they're going to be here. I would expect them to. Well, will it be a low? Yeah, it'll be a fairly low block and counter is what they'll go for. Plenty of pace on the break, although obviously no Neto now, so that threat's gone, and that's their major threat. So a lot of upheaval for Wolves, and probably you've got to say Rodrigo Gomez looks very lively, and that looks like a positive acquisition. But apart from that, they've probably taken a step back in terms of squad depth and quality. So unfortunately, I think they're going to be a team that struggles. And if you're listing candidates at the bottom 6, Wolves have probably got to be in those candidates. One of about 8 or 9 teams, I would say. Opening day, Arsenal, they beat Forest last season 2-1. They got ahead 2-0, then let one in. They were a little bit rusty, so I've gone 2-0 rather than bigger than that.
Yep. Yeah, big start for them, especially the left back spot. Who starts for them for Arsenal will be a big one. Both gone for the same score. The next one, Everton Brighton, both gone for a 2-1 to Brighton with all of our attacking assets. I think Coleman's out, isn't he? Which means it's going to be Young at right back.
Yeah, that's a worry, isn't it?
Young against Matoma. It's going to have nightmares about that, surely. Afterwards.
Is Matoma going to play out on the left? Is that the thinking?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Ashley Young needed VAR to keep Hudson-Odoi out, didn't he? So I don't know how he's going to handle Matoma, who's a similar player, isn't he? Very, very tricky. Can go inside and out.
Going to wreck him.
Yeah,
he's going to absolutely wreck him. Everton will score in that game, I'm sure they will, but because they'll just knock a long ball over the top to Calvert-Lewin and he'll probably get off the mark in this. But we should have a bit too much.
I think so.
Manchester United Fulham, the Fest game, both gone for a 2-1 Man U.
Yeah, I think that Fulham will put a good account of themselves up. I think they score. There'll be chances. United they will give you chances, but equally Fulham without Paulina, their back four's not settled. They're after Diego Carlos, so they need a centre back. No one's going to be in time for Friday night's game, obviously. I think they're going to end up playing Lukic and Reed maybe as the holding mids, which I worry that Bruno could profit from that, because obviously he's in that pocket. And Lukic is not a bad player, but he's certainly not Paulino, is he? And that's a big loss. So I do think United win, but I think a decent game for Friday night. I think Fulham will really give it a go. And, the majority will be cheering for Fulham goals probably, because some will have Muniz and some will have Smith Rowe. We'll see how many Brunos there are. I might be a Bruno owner. Only a few hours ago. I might be.
Oh my God. There'll definitely be some Bruno and Garnacho owners. Probably not too many defenders on show, but there'll be a few of those. West Ham Villa. I'm going to this game. I'm going to this game with Andy North. Did you know that?
Yeah, I know. I wasn't going to tell you this, but you were second choice because I couldn't go because I'm going to the Forest game.
No way. He asked you first.
Yeah, I wanted to tell you that live on air just to break your heart. Yeah, I'm joking. No, I'm not joking. I mean, but I thought, because basically it's a so rare thing. Anymore. It's a so rare thing. You don't even play so rare yet. So basically, yeah, of course.
I'm devastated. You know that moment in The Simpsons when Ralph's heart breaks when Lisa has a go at him.
Yeah, well, don't worry. Andy will make it up to you by giving you one of his passwords, so don't worry about it.
Think of his national insurance number and his PIN number, then we'll make it up. Yeah, to be fair, it's a so rare. I've got no interest in so rare at the moment.
Oh, you should have. It's very good, but I'm not going to advertise them because they're not paying me yet. But yeah, no, it is a really good game. But yeah, I don't want to bore people with that here. But yeah, love it.
No. You're enjoying it. Brentford Palace 2-2. I've gone for 1-1. We've gone quite similar with these scores. Both gone for a draw in this one.
Yeah, it's one of those games that's very difficult to call, isn't it? And they're two teams that we're not going to. They're two teams that we're not going to rush to invest in. I don't think Eze would have been the player here to have, but I was never sure about Eze going to Brentford. One thing that does make me tempted, though, is that I know pre-season Brentford have really struggled with set plays, defending set plays. So Eze will be on a lot of those, if not all of them, without Elise there. So, and then we expect Elise to start. I was only jesting earlier. I was only speculating that he could be on the move and therefore miss out. I don't think that's not very likely. Eze will start and probably be Palace's key man as we expect. But the thing is that we've said this before, haven't we? When teams only have to worry about Eze and shut him down, they can put men on him. When Elise was in the team, that gives them a couple of jack-in-the-boxes to think about. It's harder to contain both of them. Whereas Brentford will look at Eze, and didn't you go to this fixture last season?
I was going to say I went to this exact fixture last season at Brentford, and Palace and Eze ran the show. He was unbelievable. I can't remember what he might have got an assist. Might have scored. I think he got something in that game, but he was.
Yeah, Anderson scored, didn't he, from the back? For
that's right. Yeah, well remembered. Yeah, he was excellent though. It was one of those moments when you go and see a team and there's just one player who is just head and shoulders above everyone else on the pitch, and that was Eze.
I remember the game because I was first choice to go, but I couldn't go, so I think you got the ticket after me.
Very good. Wouldn't surprise me if Yels was asking you to
was it Yels? I had no idea. Sorry.
Yeah. She's looking forward to seeing you next week with the
match of the day challenge. Oh, yeah. Hitching in the kitchen. It's going to be so good.
Hitching in the kitchen. Yeah. Got a nice sea bass for Billy. He's coming.
He is coming.
Billy coming?
He is.
Coming.
Yeah. He can't wait. Yeah.
Good. Chelsea Man City. I was very surprised with your score for this one. I've gone for 3-2 Man City. I think there's goals 3-2? All over this. You've gone for 2-0 City. You won't keep a clean sheet in this, surely.
I think my view is that Chelsea will look to contain them. They'll break on them
and do a patch job.
And I think it's good. The possession game is going to be very interesting because obviously Maresca is going to be heavy on that, but he's up against the manager and the team who prioritises that over everything. It is interesting because the players missing. The players missing for City. It's difficult to know. We said earlier, like other than Haaland, where's the goal threat going to come from? Obviously, they've got quality players, but looking at data in terms of goal output, the 11 they have on the pitch, there probably isn't going to be a player who's going to hit double figures this season on that pitch because a lot of those players who could aren't going to be playing unless they get more from Grealish and Doku this season, which they might. I just think it's difficult to call, but I think Chelsea are going to be way off to begin with. I just don't think there's going to be fluidity to their play. There's going to be gaps at the back. It's what we've seen pre-season. He won't have fixed that overnight. Maresca's system takes time to learn, and he hasn't had his primary players like Palmer in that system yet. So I just don't think they're fully cooked yet. So City win for me.
I just think it's going to be. I just think it's going to be chaos. I just think it's going to be chaos. There's players missing. There's going to be like McAtee playing up front for Man City with Haaland, and no Rodri, and Chelsea are going to play about who the hell's going to start. I don't know. It's just should be an interesting one. Yeah, I think Chelsea definitely score, but I think City win. Leicester Spurs. I've gone for a 4-1 Spurs again. Just that goal because Leicester first home game. Mavadidi penalty, I reckon, in the 20th minute or something, and then Spurs just go and absolutely thrash them. You've gone for a 3-0 Spurs. Nice and routine for the away side.
Yeah, I think Cooper will try and contain them, and there will be a low block, but I just don't see Leicester having enough to keep them out. And Spurs at home is not a game you want as the first game for Leicester. I feel sorry for Cooper and Leicester because if it was an away game, he can go and do a low block and he'll be under no pressure to get a result. Because it's a home game, first game in charge of Leicester in front of the home crowd, he doesn't want to send his team out and go, right, just camp on the edge of the box and try and keep them out. But unfortunately, I think that's what they'll have to do. And it definitely is in Cooper's MO to do that. And he's done it successfully. I remember the Arsenal game, we won 1-0 to stay up. We were so deep. We had about 10 men in the penalty area. It was crazy. We kept one outside and that was it. And we kept Arsenal out. But by then we were a team well drilled that Cooper knew inside out. He doesn't know that Leicester team well enough to get a low block out of them that could be effective against the Spurs, I don't think. So they'll have far too much for them, I think.
You would definitely think so, and like I keep saying, I think Leicester are so short. This is going into this season.
Yeah.
Do you know we've got one outcome different?
I know. I noticed that. So we've got a new prediction system, but same old in terms of outcomes. But yeah, maybe it's an easy week to call though. Who knows?
Forest Bournemouth both gone for a Forest win. You're going to this one confident?
I am confident, actually. Yeah, mainly because obviously we're playing Bournemouth without Solanke, and then the following week after next it'll be Wolves without Neto. We've definitely got lucky with the fixtures, and we've got lucky with obviously the transfer moves. Bournemouth will probably have Semenyo up front. I think Sinistera and Kluivert could be threats, but I think we've got enough to contain them. I think we're fairly decent in wide areas. Milinkovic or Murillo will take care of Semenyo, I think. And our threats will come from wide with Elanga and Hudson-Odoi. And towards the end of the season, Hudson-Odoi was almost unstoppable. And he's looked sharp. And we got Gibbs-White as a creative force down the middle. I think we'll win the midfield battle. I think they're likely to... it's not they look light there, but I think Sangari's in for a big season and he's looked really good pre-season and hoping that he can be a dominant force in there. So I think with the home crowd, that's a massive factor as well. We'll be loud. We'll be super loud. And we've put some extra seats in the corner. It looks like we put a load of deck chairs up. It looks really bad. It's being described as the Gary Megson stand, which will tell you what level of quality we've got. So we'll have even more voices
on the beach
in the ground. Yeah, exactly. But I'll go 2-1. I think we'll concede, but we'll win.
And then the final game is Newcastle, Southampton. Both gone for big wins for the home sides. I've gone for a 5-0. You've gone for a 4-0. I think this is, other than City away, this is the worst possible game you could have because the St James's Park crowd are going to be going absolutely nuts. I know Gordon's a bit of a doubt. I know Trippier's a bit of a doubt, but you're playing against such a good attacking side, and Isak would just scare the life out of me if I was a Southampton defender. He's going to cause carnage, I think.
Well, Forest went to Newcastle for their first game back in the Premier League 2 seasons ago. And we went there with a kind of level of squad that Southampton have got, as in largely a championship squad with not too much top level quality. They've got some decent players that could help them survive. But like you said, the last fixture you want, I mean, other than other than Liverpool away or Man City away, the next in line is probably St James's Park, because at home they're incredibly strong. The atmosphere there will be very partisan. Southampton fans will have a party, but I think the Forest lost 5-1 that day, I believe. So
5-1 was it?
I think, yeah, there was at least 5. I think at least 4 goals in it. I've wiped it from my memory because obviously it was a shocking start, and I do think, unfortunately, that Newcastle will probably hand a similar beating out to Southampton. Yeah, it is a long journey.
I don't think I'd bother going.
Southampton fans, just like the Forest fans on the day, will have a party because they're back in the Premier League, and that's something to celebrate. And they will get far, far easier days than they're going to get on Saturday.
Yeah.
If it is Saturday. But yeah, so there's nothing to worry about from this first game, because not many teams will go to St James's Park and get a result. So, but unfortunately, defensively, I think there's question mark. I mean, Russell Martin will come up and try and push his style, and their style is to play out from the back, lots and lots of passes. And Newcastle are one of the best pressing sides in the Premier League, and they'll press high. And I just don't think Southampton will have the quality to play through them. So unless Russell Martin's going to surprise us and turn up with a bit more direct, a bit less risk taking, they're going to get thrashed.
Yep, completely agree. That's it for the predictions then. Thank you everyone for, if you've joined the Sleeper League, if you're joining as a Patreon and you want to get involved in the predictions league, as mentioned, do that. It's a fun way to get involved in all these. Fest tomorrow, Mr. Southerns. I will see
I'm nervous.
you there.
Oh, I'm so nervous because I mean, I remember last year we had the Gabriel Saliba thing, didn't we? We had the Gabriel Saliba last minute, and we had no internet connection, so we couldn't make the change. And then I don't want to be tinkering with my team. I remember the morning of Fest, I put Salah in, and didn't regret it because he started the season well. Not many people went Salah. A lot of people went, Haaland with Bruno and spread the funds in midfield. And I think I went 2 heavy hitters, and it worked out well. I don't know yet. I'm sitting here now and I don't know where I'm going to go, as we're going to look at our teams in a minute. And I think I'm still going to be undecided tomorrow, because I'm going to be doing prep for Fest after this, putting the pod out. I don't know when I'm going to go to bed. And the work, you don't want to be making transfers, 2 or 3 in the morning, do we? So I'm not going to have my team ready for tomorrow. But it's going to be lovely to see everybody. But that's the other thing. I'm going to be saying hello to lots of people, meeting lots of people. It's always lovely. So I don't want to go and be thinking about, should I do this or should I do that still? So plus there's the drink as well.
Fourth from bottom. Could you just, third from bottom. Could you read that one to me?
Listen to top advice, is that?
Yeah. You can't even work out. Do
they mean us?
Just sorted.
Yeah, I know. I mean, we are going to be, revealing our teams live at the Fest. And the teams we're going to show now, I would say, are unlikely to be my final team. I would say. Okay. I'm sure there's going to be a change before Fest.
Well, I'm there, I think, with mine.
Is that you locked?
This is I would never use the lock emoji.
Never use it
in this way, but I think I don't think I'm going to make any changes. It's Henderson in goal with Trent, Porro, and Barco, Saka, Jota, Gordon, Rogers, Haaland, Isak, and Solanke. And then Bentley, Smith Rowe, Robinson, and Johnson. So the weak links here are Barco and potentially Rogers. If they can get an attacking return between them, I'll be happy. Next week, Smith Rowe and Robinson come in for Fulham's great run. I don't think there's any real weakness here, he says confidently. Obviously, there's massive worries about Salah going off on one. I haven't got Vardiol, who I want. I haven't got any Arsenal defenders, but you can't have them all. And this is what my tinkering has led me to. So the moves I made today, I did 3 transfers earlier. I did Winks, Nkunku, and who was the other one? Eze. Winks, Nkunku, and Eze out for Gordon, Rogers, and Smith Rowe.
So talk me through the strategy with Jota then. Do you expect to have him going into game week 3, or is he going to go early? What are you thinking?
Hard to say, isn't it? I'd like to keep him. If he does well in the first couple of weeks, he'll obviously stay. But there's players that I can move to. I mentioned potentially doing Gordon down to Nkunku. That could be Jota if he loses his place down. See what happens with Eze. If I can get through August and he's still at Palace and they've got good fixtures coming, then he's someone that can come back in. That 7-5 bracket is somewhere that I can move around to. But ideally, I'd like to keep a Liverpool player, a Liverpool attacker going forward, because I think they're going to be good. I mean, he could even move to Diaz if Darwin starts playing up front and Diaz is looking good. Then that could just be a sideways move over to him, or the whole thing could get ripped up, and I could end up getting Salah anyway and taking Haaland out. So
yeah, I mean, I wanted Jota, and I was all in for Jota. But then when the Oscar Bob injury came, I'm probably going to overlook him. I mean, I knew when I was getting him that come game week 3, there'll be anxiety about whether he starts, because obviously Núñez and Gakpo will be a factor, and we don't yet know from slot where he stands. Jota could easily do enough where he keeps his place, but then the chance of injury, and obviously European football kicks off after game week 4 as well, and then all bets are off then. And when we talked about the Champions League and the impact on teams, there's no question, if you're going in with Jota and the Champions League kicks in, you're going to start to worry then, even if he's had starts, right? Because I can't see a world where there's not rotation once Liverpool kick into Champions League. I don't mind your team, but I think you when you go in with Jota, you got to have a strategy where you're going to move to. Moving to Nkunku makes sense. But it's then, what if Barco loses his place as well? That gives you another dilemma. So, yeah, and you've got to play Robinson every week, presumably. Once we get past game week 1.
I think that's kind of key to everything, because he's got Leicester, Ipswich, West Ham, Newcastle, Forest. Yeah, that's 5 weeks where I will happily play him in all 5 of those games. And if he had like a bad one and I was looking at a rotation, I wouldn't be able to do this because I've got Barco and Johnson on the bench. But there's no way I'm going to be benching Robinson. The only one of those is Newcastle at home potentially, but maybe Barco is even a factor, at that point, and it's not a huge problem, because that's when Brighton's good start happens. I think it's Forest in game week 5 when Robinson has Newcastle. So if Barco is still lining up at left back, then it's a good fixture for him.
Yeah, you got Ipswich 4 and Forest 5, so you're playing Barco in those 2 probably. It's just whether has Barco held on at that point. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Robinson, you're right. I mean, the thing with Robinson, he's going to be high. So even if they concede goals, he's going to be really up there and linking with Smith Rowe and Núñez. And we've seen it pre-season. I think he's set up a couple of goals already pre-season. So what we expect 6, 7, 8 assists over the season from him. So even in bad fixtures, he's going to be up there with the leading assisters from in that 4-5 bracket for sure. So I like him a lot. I've had him in and out of my team, and I might still have him tomorrow as well. So yeah, I get it. And I don't think you've given yourself too many problems, because I think Rodgers will hold his start. So that's okay. If it was Bob there, then you might have too many concerns, because then you've got Jota, Bob and Barco. But in a way, Bob's injury, bringing Rodgers in, I think Rodgers is a bit more nailed, less explosive, lower ceiling, but I think he's more nailed for sure. Yeah. Don't mind it.
Yeah.
What's chances of this being your team? Chances of this being your team at 6:30 tomorrow?
95%.
Wow. Blimey.
Unless we get something from the press conferences that makes me, cast out on any of these players, it will be this team. And I'm determined not to make last minute changes, because that's one of the pre-season lessons that I always do. And yeah, I think, Eze, it's sad to be losing Eze and Nkunku, because I do back them both, but I think Gordon and Smith Rowe should do well. Gordon this week and then Smith Rowe going forwards. Anyway, enough about my team. Let's take a look. Yours has changed. This is the first one where you've changed your team massively again, but I haven't followed suit. And this is no Haaland.
Yeah, I mean, there's 2 reasons. Match the day challenge. I don't want. Our teams are too identical, weren't they? When we had 8 or 9 players the same, and I don't mind that. And the thing is, I'm past the point now where I really have to think about being optimal and trying to play for a top 10 KT rank and stuff like that. I do think about our teams being different, and us having talking points and content and so on. If there was a massive gap between the Haaland lineups and Salah lineups, I would go for the one that it favours, which, at the moment there isn't though. You look at projected points, expected value on Rate My Team or on review, and and the difference between the Salah builds and the Haaland builds is small. The Salah builds obviously give you more room to maneuver funds around, to give you a bit more coverage, you could argue. And when Bob got his injury, it did change it for me. It made me think, well, that disruption for Pep maybe means that they perhaps aren't as free flowing. We're expecting them to thrash it switch, but it depends who is on the pitch. And I built this team with the idea that I can move Son down to Foden. If I feel that Foden starts that game against Ipswich, I can get on City by moving Son down. So I've got that option, which is why Son's there. I could go Bruno and keep the money in the bank, but out of Bruno and Son for the opening game week, I favour Son. I do think that Spurs will score more goals against Leicester than United will against Fulham, and Son is, I think, more likely to be involved than Bruno in the game week 1 point. So that's the reasoning there. I fully expect to have to move to get Foden in order to get me someone in that City Ipswich game. And now I fully expect Foden to start that one with Bob out. I think he's going to need goals on the pitch as soon as possible. And so Foden for me is someone I'm eyeing up for game week 2. I might not do it. And if I don't, then Spurs play Everton at home. It's no harm in keeping Son. So to go for the team for the podcast, it's Raya in goal, Porro, Quansah, Trent and Lewis Hall. And the other defender I've got is Barco at the moment. And Son, Salah, Saka, Rodgers and Smith Rowe, Isak, Solanke and Muniz. So I'm going heavy on Spurs for the Leicester game because I expect there to be goals. I'm going heavy on Fulham for their run from game week 2. Newcastle at home to Southampton, I've got Isak and Hall. Liverpool at Ipswich, I've got 3 players. So I'm backing the teams with easier game week 1 fixtures or game week 2 fixtures. And I think that's a sound strategy. I haven't yet found a team that I like more than this, but I think there's a likelihood that I will before the Fest deadline. So I think it could change. But again, obviously no Haaland is the weakness. I see that Raptors going no Haaland and he got a lot of negative comments about it. But like I say, the review is saying Salah builds are fine and actually outscoring Haaland builds at the moment. That could change in hour to hour. There's so little in it. There really is. And I think it would be great to be sitting with you on the couch in Hitchin with me not owning Haaland and you holding Haaland, right?
Oh no, you won't be on the couch. You'll be up here. You'll be very uncomfortable next to me watching on the
You're going to put me in the stress position.
Yeah, I haven't got the luxury that you had, sitting on that nice beanbag watching the TV. Yeah, we're watching the monitor in here. Sorry.
But what do you think? Where's the weakness here?
I guess playing 4 at the back when we've predicted so many goals worries me a little bit because, I mean, it's Son and Salah for you versus Haaland and Jota for me, which I think is quite close. But then I've got Gordon and you've got Hall. And I think Gordon is clearly the better option out of the 2. So that would worry me a little bit. But then you've got Raya in goal and I've got Henderson. So maybe that kind of balances it out. But I think Son and Salah for this week against Haaland and Jota is close, right? That is, Jota and Salah is about even, and Leicester are arguably the weakest team going into the league. So there's not much in it between them. So get away with it this week. But then game week 2, obviously, watching Ipswich without Haaland is going to be a tough watch.
Yeah, so I've got 0.5 in the bank here. So the idea is that it gives me the option of going Son to Foden in game week 2, and then I can go Isak to Watkins after that as well. If I go Son down to Foden, I don't need to keep the 0.5 in the bank, but I just wonder whether it's worthwhile. So I'm going to look at whether I can spend that 0.5 and strengthen a bit more. I look at my back 4. Yeah, you're right. Back 4 is maybe a strange formation to go in, but Spurs playing Leicester, Liverpool at Ipswich, so Newcastle playing Southampton.
Are you not tempted to play Muniz or Smith Rowe though, and give
I am
yourself
a
player at Fest?
Yeah,
I'd play one of them over Counsel, I think.
You play them over who? Over Hall?
Over Counsel. Over Counsel.
Yeah.
Counsell's going to get 6 points maximum.
Yeah, possibly.
Max.
But I think a clean sheet.
I'd play Muniz, I think.
I think I looked at the clean sheet odds and Liverpool are second favourites behind Arsenal, aren't they? And Spurs are 3rd or 4th. So the promoted sides would have to score for this to go very wrong, which they could, and Wolves would have to score at Arsenal, which they could. But I think I've got the most likely sources of clean sheets there in Spurs, Liverpool, Newcastle, Arsenal. But I am relying on Son getting something at Leicester, but I think he will. And Solanke, of course. So I think there's returns there.
Question for you. Son gets a brace against Leicester. You're over the moon. Do you still sell him for Foden?
It depends how certain I am on Foden's start. You know, whether I'm absolutely sure Foden's on that pitch. I think in terms of home games last season, Foden outscored Haaland. In terms of total points, he outscored Haaland. I wouldn't be averse to captaining Foden for the Ipswich game if I'm certain he's on the pitch. So, yeah, it would depend a lot on that. I mean, obviously, Son against Everton, could be a good fixture for him, which is why it's nice to have that option. If I went Bruno, I'd have Bruno at Brighton. Is that as good? I mean, arguably, the opening day fixture, Son at Leicester, Bruno at home to Fulham. I would say Son's got the better fixture. And he's certainly got a better fixture game week 2, isn't he? So if I do end up holding that player, then I think I'd rather have Son at home to Everton game week 2.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm favouring Son, I think, at the moment. And he's a big differential. He is.
He's the biggest potentially. It's not many people at all. I mean, to have triple Spurs against Leicester, and then potentially against Everton at home. I don't hate
it's not
that.
I
don't hate that at all. No.
Yeah, I just didn't think Son would end up anywhere near my team.
Nor did I.
But I can't go Brennan now because I don't know for sure that he gets the starts and his minutes are under threat. Son will probably be on the pitch when the whistle blows, won't he? So
yeah,
it is a factor. There's no question.
Mixed opinions of your team, Mark, in the chat. I say mixed. Most hate it.
Okay. Why? Because there's no Haaland, I guess. Yeah.
Good respect for dedication, talking about, creating content and things like that, and openness about, about doing it. Other people Andy T, that team is horrible. It's not very constructive, is it? But
I mean, if you're building a Salah team, what else do you do with that, really? I mean, you can go Gordon in there if you're backing him to get stronger returns than Son, of course. I don't know. I don't think it's horrible as Salah builds go, but some people just look at non-Haaland teams and go, "That's horrible" straight away, don't they? Because
I like it,
and I get it.
I like it. I think doing something a bit different. Son's obviously the wow factor. You bring in Smith Rowe and Muniz next week for Rodgers and Hall, and then you've got a really strong team going forward. I definitely don't hate it. It's just how much damage Haaland can do. But if you're worried about City's potential in the last few weeks with all the uncertainty and injuries, then
I mean, they'll score goals. They'll score at Chelsea, and they'll score goals against Ipswich. They'll probably score 3 or 4 goals against Chelsea, against Ipswich. But obviously, having Salah and Trent is not a bad trade-off either. And if I can get Foden on the pitch against Ipswich, then I should get some points if they do run riot. I won't have the captaincy on Haaland. I'll have it on Salah at home to Brentford. But then that could easily turn either way, couldn't it? It's obviously a massive gamble to not go Haaland, but I just think if we're sitting here with 9 players the same, do I want that? At this stage in my, I hesitate to say FPL career, but that's what it is, right? At this stage in my FPL career, I'm more about the content than I am about getting good ranks, to be honest, because I'm lucky enough to be in a position where I can come 500,000 in the world and no one really throws shade on me or makes me think I've got little to offer. I'm lucky I've got a lot of stock in the bank. Yeah.
They have. You haven't actually finished 500,000 in the world. I did last year. Can confirm lots of shade.
Yeah, I know. But then, I've perhaps got a bit more credit in the bank than you. I hesitate to say. But
I think that's more than fair.
So I'm lucky in that respect. So if there's anyone out there who can play for fun, obviously all the FPL winners, they can play for fun every season. They've won it, nothing to prove. I'm probably one of the few content creators who are lucky enough to be in a position where I can try a few things. And, there's others out there like this, but I'm one of them.
And it won't at all affect you, will it, Mark? Because you're not the sort of person to get really beaten down.
But I think since Forest came into the Premier League, I know it'll be devastating. I mean, obviously, if Haaland goes off, but that's what people want. people want to tune in to Match of the Day Challenge with one of us not having Haaland and watch the agony on one of our faces, right? And I'm not doing it just for that, but I think I'm doing it for the fun factor of sitting there with you on that Saturday evening and seeing that there's 2,000 people waiting to watch us and thinking this is going to end in tears, probably for me. And I don't mind taking that on for the sake of entertainment.
I'll never forget us with, I think it was 5,000 live when neither of us had Haaland and he got a hat trick against Palace.
Yeah,
I'll never forget that. That was.
Yeah, it's and like I say, you know.
Panther says, as he's enjoying this, look at the glint in his eye, watching this unfold. I feel like I set this into motion, sending you my team yesterday when you realised we were too similar. I
know. The thing is now, I can't go back to having Haaland tomorrow night, can I? So I'd say I'm probably I'm 90% certain not to have Haaland. So if there's ideas on how this team can be better without Haaland, I'll listen to it. But, you know, yeah, thanks, Yells. Yeah, thanks a lot. Yeah. And Billy will be choking on his sea bass with laughter, won't he? I can see it now.
Yellow said to me earlier, she said, "Oh, I'm thinking of going without Haaland."
Yeah, go on, do it.
Well, I said you'll have to do Match of the Day Challenge with us because I will know from your reaction if Haaland's got 5 goals when you come out of mascaras just like running down your face.
Then I'm leaving. I'm leaving the house. Honestly, she won't be able to hide it, will she? So she's got to do it as well. If she goes in with no Haaland, she's got to do it as well. In fact, we should make her do it as well anyway, right? There's no way she should.
Of course, yeah, she's definitely doing it.
Yeah. Because otherwise, people will accuse us of her telling us the scores, and that's happened last time.
She will. Yeah, she will have to do it. And for anyone who isn't aware, there will be a Match of the Day challenge next week, game week 2 on the Saturday. Mark will be up in Hitchin. We're going to go for some sea bass for Billy. He's going to come here. We're going to put ourselves in this room, and we're going to watch the games and stream it. So if that's the kind of thing that you think you'd like, then make sure you get involved next week.
And just to explain, we're going to stream it not knowing the scores, and that will include the Forest score. So I've not only have I got the pain of probably watching Haaland destroy my Saturday. If Southampton beat Forest, imagine how miserable I'm going to be on that day. I mean, I'm going to be. Yeah. If Southampton thrash Forest and Haaland gets a hat trick, I don't know where that's going to end for me. So yeah, you want to watch that probably.
the worst bit for you is Salah won't play until the next day.
Oh my God.
So if Haaland does go off, or even if he doesn't do that well, you still won't actually know how well Salah's. Imagine if they both blank.
Nigel, I'm beginning to rethink this. I think Anyway, we can get some people on now to maybe talk about and maybe talk me out of it. So it's fine.
Oh, yeah. Well, we've got some people to get on. And we've also got about 20 super chats to get through.
And it's okay because Pip mentioned that pizza. Basically, she's messaged me back. Pizza's on the side. I have put an oven on. Oh, she better turn that oven off because I'm not going to be in for a while. There's chocolate brownie in the cake tin which Edie has made, and it's delicious. There you go. So I've got treats waiting for me.
Well, I'll tell you what we do. I'm going to run.
Edie is my daughter, not my cook, by the way.
Yes, she's called Stephanie.
We haven't got a chef. No, shut up. Yeah.
I'm going to take a quick bathroom break and put the starting soon back on.
Yeah, let's do that.
Grab a beer as well. And then I'll put the link in Discord, see who wants to join us. We'll take some more super chats and we'll be done by about 3:00 in the morning. So
yeah,
we'll see you soon.
But we'll be back in a minute.
Back in a minute. See you in a bit. Hello again.
Boom, we're back.
Mark, I'm pressing the buttons. Don't be clicking buttons without my
I didn't click any buttons.
consent.
I didn't
you?
do it. No, it wasn't me.
It must have finished the good timing. Just as we said we were going to
doesn't last forever. That's right.
Oh my God! Look who's in the lobby. Look who's in the lobby. It's Nigel the Crab himself.
Oh, Nigel's here. Get him on.
Yeah.
Simon, how are you?
I'm all right, actually. Yeah, it's been a long day, and this feels like it's been a very long show as well. So.
Oh yeah, no denying that. It's such a pleasure to see you, Nigel. I was looking forward to meeting you tomorrow at Fest, but getting to meet you now on BlackBox and share this with you is great.
Well, I was obviously not very memorable last time because we met.
Oh no, I remember you last time. Yeah, no, I remember. Yeah, you were there because we did the live show, didn't we? So I do remember. But no, I knew you were coming. I didn't know you were coming till today. I saw you comment about it today. You were coming to that. So
look at the comments for Nigel.
Absolute legend.
Welcome. Nigel says Yelena. Bloody hell says Matt Francis. Tom Legend. Nigel in the house.
Have we destroyed the myth? Because obviously people see what you look like now and so on. It's like
yes, it's disappointment. I should imagine.
No, never. You're next to Az and me, so you're always going to look good. You're fine.
How's your team set up, Nigel? You ready?
No, not really. I've been overthinking it. I've been working on the premise of doubling up based on relationships between players. So I've been looking at the Haaland De Bruyne double up, and this is going to get me pelters. I've been looking at the Paquetá and Bowen double up as well.
Whoa, that's not like you to be left field. Nigel, normally you play it straight down the line, don't you?
No, I mean, like to plumb the depths of the lower end of the table. But yeah, so I also was looking up Isak as well, and the majority of his penalties were all won by Gordon. So I've been looking at the Gordon Isak double up as well.
Yeah, I think that I think Gordon won 6 or 7 penalties, didn't he, last season for him?
Yeah, 6 penalties. Yeah,
he has that knack of just getting his leg in front of the defender and drawing. I mean, some of them are really dubious as well, but you would not be surprised to see him repeat that, would you? You really wouldn't. So.
Yeah, so I'm looking at Fernandez as well. So I mean, I tried.
Mark, is that your connection dropping or is it mine?
I'm connected fine. I'm all good. Must be you. Yeah. No, it's all good.
Oh yeah, it must be me then. Sorry, you dropped out then for a second.
No worries. I was just saying I'm looking at Fernandez as well. I'm thinking kind of over the course of the season, Fernandez looks a better deal than Salah.
Really? What, Bruno over Salah, just because of the difference in price?
Well, not just that. I think as well with that, it's kind of make or break for Ten Hag, isn't it? Now, and over the summer there are certain players, internationals, that have really shown up, and Bruno's got to bring that form now into the Premier League. And I know I'm gonna eat my words here. Salah's probably going to score over 200 points. I make this, and the people will be clipping this, and it'll come back to haunt me. But I just feel that this is kind of make or break now with the team that they've assembled at United. Bruno really has to step up. He can't be walking around the pitch complaining as he has before. He's really got to show that captain caliber.
Yeah, so you're going
to get pelters for that, Nigel.
You're going to be at best with Bruno in your team. That gives you something big to cheer, doesn't it? I am tempted for that reason as well, to be honest.
If I don't go with Bruno, I will get pelters. So I've kind of tied myself into it now.
166 points last season, 19 attacking returns. He's been a steady Eddie, isn't he, for the last three years? 244 points he got 4 years ago, but never got anywhere near those heights again. I don't hate it, but I don't love it, is where I sit, I think, on that one.
I've got a Gibbs White theory. Do you want to hear that? Lee Carsley. Lee Carsley is the New England manager, right? And Lee Carsley picked Gibbs White as the overage player in the under-21s, which they won with Palmer one side, Gordon the other, and Gibbs White playing kind of false 9, withdrawn 9 position. Gibbs White's never had a better chance of getting into an England squad. We know there's international breaks to come. Now, I'm not saying that Gibbs White doesn't give 100% normally, but there's no question when Gibbs White saw Carsley become England manager, he would have thought, right, this is my chance. If I shine first 3 game weeks, I could be in that squad. I do wonder whether that could be that little bit extra, that marginal gain that just gives White that push over those early fixtures. So that's why when I think you asked tonight where the best 6-5 money going, I just give Gibbs White the edge for the first couple.
He didn't have a great pre-season though, did he, Mark?
He was all right, but he wasn't our sharpest player. But there's no question all the good stuff comes through. And no major returns. But I do.
So he got less than 3 returns, right?
Yeah. But you can't read anything into pre-season returns necessarily. You shouldn't read too much into it. He'll be our best player. He'll be central to everything. He won't be on all the set plays because Danilo and Elanga have been taking corners. But I think in a way that allows him to get in the box for set plays, and he's actually a threat in the air. So I do think the Carsley thing could be, it's pure speculation, but there would have been a glint in Gibbs White's eye when he saw that appointment, and he's never going to have a better chance of getting an England squad. Obviously, to do that, he's got to perform over those first 3 games. There's no question Bournemouth, Southampton, Wolves give him a platform. Obviously, Wolves at home, we know he scored last season against Wolves.
I can't believe you're not starting with him. I can't believe he's not on the team.
He may well be by tomorrow. I'm looking at it. I'm looking at it going, do I want Son or a couple of 6-5s? So I'm looking at it. Yeah.
Anyone could make your team tomorrow. Yeah. It could be anyone. It's a load of randoms.
I know. I'm so open to persuasion. So it's Nigel. You can. I don't think you can talk me into Pakatalo.
No.
You want to go?
Yeah, Pakatalo. Yeah. He is. He's really. I suppose my only concern with that Forest midfield is that Nuno is really pragmatic. I mean, how attacking do you really expect Gibbs White to be in a kind of very? Because he can be quite dour sometimes, Nuno.
Yeah, I mean, we will be catching beyond the break that we get goals. I think at Southampton away will probably be, strangely, the most profitable fixture for Gibbs White over the 3. I think the home games, Bournemouth and Wolves, they're not naive enough to think that they're going to come at us and give us chances to transition and break on them. So I think breaking teams down at home, teams that come and defend, will be that's a problem. I think away from home and against teams that are stronger and will come at us at the City Ground, that's where we perhaps have more joy on the break. We've got a bit more about us. I would say Sangari gives us somebody who can pass between the lines from the 6. We didn't really have that last season. We relied on Murillo to really get the ball to Gibbs White in space, but Sangari has done that pre-season. So I think there's a little bit more about us. And if Anderson plays in the Danilo role, he's got some creativity in his game as well. So I do think we're a better side, and we will break teams down better, but it's not a huge leap. There's no question. Out of the 3 games, I think Gibbs White could get double figures at Southampton, but maybe get an assist or 2 against Bournemouth and Wolves. But that's still good enough for 6-5. I still think versus Nkunku, who's got City first game, I think he will still come out on top out of the 6-5s.
Wary of Murillo. He's had a few gaffes in him during pre-season, and he gave away 2 or 3 penalties, like just swinging at players. And maybe
3 pens.
2.
He gave away 3 pens. 2 pens. Okay.
He gave away a goal and 2 pens. No, he's been abject in pre-season. And I don't know whether he's not fit or his mind is elsewhere, but we got to play him because he's just special. That is a risk, yeah. But I mean, Bournemouth and Wolves, how much have they got to offer up front? They're not the strongest in those areas now. If Solanke was turning up on Saturday, I'd be very worried, but it won't be. It'll be probably Semenyo playing up top. And Milinkovic looks quality. So I think we'll be stronger there. Anyway, enough for Forest. Let's get some super chats up, shall we? We've got
I was gonna say, Nigel, you're on the other side. You're on the other side now. Normally it's you sending these in. Are you happy to help us answer some?
Absolutely. For all the good that will be, yes, absolutely.
So this is from FPL Uproar. Kamada, we mentioned him earlier in the stream. Mark, he was part of your 5-5 and under picks that we talked about on the last episode, and he was actually in my first draft. The first draft I created, I look back on it, and Kamada was in there. I've sort of pivoted away from him and gone to Smith Rowe now, but is he a good replacement for Eze? And also, here's some money for us as well, which is very, very generous. But yeah, Nigel, what do you reckon on Kamada and the 5-5 bracket?
Yes and no. So I did some research into Kamada, prior to playing under Glasner, he was actually more of a goal threat. Under Glasner, he got more assists. So he will play a slightly deeper position. So if Eze is still there and you've got Eze and Sarr playing on either wing, there's a good chance you'll see Kamada playing in central midfield, playing basically defence splitting passes.
Can I just say, Nigel? Can I just say, just really quickly, you never know who you're going to get on when you just stick a link in the Discord chat. You've come, like, you are the best guest. You've come armed with knowledge and opinions, and your microphone's half decent. Fair play.
I'd like to think anyone who watches this show religiously, like Nigel does, would bring that to the party. So yeah, I'm not surprised.
I'd like to think that, but I don't believe it.
So yes and no with Kamada. So yes and no. Depends where he plays. If he plays further forward, then yeah, he is international quality. He's a good player. But if he plays further back, then the most you're going to get is an assist out of him.
Is he going to start? Because they've got Ismail Assar now, right? So Ismail Assar is going to play
on the right,
that side, and he's going to be somewhat inverted, and he playing closer to the striker. I presume it's going to be Edouard up top. Ayo's on his way out, isn't he? We think that he's going to be, so it'll be Eze one side, and presumably, it'll be Sarr on the other. So where's Kamada going to play? In the 10? Do you think? That's where he's going to be?
Well, it depends. Glasner's got a thing for 3-4. He's got a thing for playing quite a flat midfield, because he likes the two wingers to come inside and play as number 10s. If that's the case, then Kamada will play more probably as a traditional central midfielder. If he plays Wharton and Hughes, then there's a good chance that Kamada will move further forward. But he's so versatile, it makes him a difficult pick.
It's Kamada or Sarr to start, I think. That's the thing. And I think he will get the start over Sarr because he's got more minutes in pre-season, and Sarr's only just arrived.
2 goals last season. 2 goals.
But that's at Lazio.
For Lazio in 29
he was,
appearances.
Wasn't a good move for him.
Well, he was at Frankfurt for 6 years, and he got 20 goals in 127. So he's not an out and out goal scorer, but I've watched him a few times, and he's a good player. He's a classy player who clearly is very talented. It's just, has he got a classy, talented player isn't always a great FPL asset. Whereas I think Smith Rowe is good. Whereas Kamada, not too sure.
I think it's a wait and see for me. I think he's in that bracket of 5-5 mids that could break out, but the fixtures again, Brentford, West Ham, Chelsea. And it depends on Eze, doesn't it? If Eze could leave the club, then that's going to be disruptive, isn't it? And he's such an important player for them. So, yeah. No. What was that comment? I missed that. Was that Simon to replace us? I mean, yeah.
No, we didn't say that. Let's not go down that way. Right. It said the knowledge of this man, put him on speed dial.
Oh, sorry.
Although my place is a risk. We won't talk about your rank last season, Simon.
We don't talk about ranks.
We definitely don't talk about ranks on this bloody stream. Next super chats. Someone said we missed super chats. We definitely haven't. We're going back to 8:46 p.m.
Do you remember that time?
Do you remember that time? This is from George Prince. Smith Rowe Mooney's double up, too risky. Benching ESR game week 1. Well, Mark and I both have him on the bench currently. Nigel, where are you with Smith Rowe? Is he in your? Have you got any fest players, as we like to call them?
Yeah, Smith Rowe's definitely in the thinking. I mean, you only had to see how dynamic he was for Arsenal when he was playing for them a couple of seasons ago. I mean, that's special. And I would still fancy him to cause problems for United, given how open their midfield is. So even though they've got Delict and Mazraoui, and I expect Mazraoui to invert to create a bit more cover in central midfield for United, I still think that Fulham are going to have acres and acres to run into, and I think that Smith Rowe will be a real threat.
Are you playing in them?
Yes.
Are you?
Oh,
yes.
No.
Yeah. That is their weakness.
Case.
The weakness for United is that holding midfield role. They've never really got it right for a couple of seasons. They've not really got that player in yet who's settled, who can plug that gap. and Smith Rowe lives in that pocket. So it is definitely a tense watch if you're benching him. It is tempting, isn't it? I mean, you think I should play him, don't you? Over Quanta.
I think you should play one of them over Quanta. Yeah. I guess the question is it Smith Rowe or Muniz, which is also the question kind of within that super chat as well. They've got Muniz and ESR. Although it sounds like they're thinking of playing Muniz. Would I play both of them? No. Would I be comfortable playing one of them? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so. I wouldn't want them both on the bench. They should get something in that.
Thanks very much.
Did you see that comment I just put on the screen from Matt Francis? Not saying this is a long stream, but I've cooked dinner for the family, eaten it, did a YouTube quiz, washed up, and you're still going.
I haven't had any dinner yet. I'm going to be hallucinating
Where's
soon.
your pizza?
My pizza's inside. I've turned the oven off because no point leaving it on. It's just wasting the gas, and I'm just burning the gas there. Holly's in the chat, saying hello to you there, Simon.
Hi, Holly. It's good to see you.
Good to see her. Yeah,
good to see you.
I don't think Holly's going to be at Fest, so we're going to miss her at Fest tomorrow. But
that is a shame. I saw Focal in the chat. He is going to be at Fest, and obviously Andy's going to be there as well. Let's go for Matt Duncan. Thank you for the super chat. Am I crazy for thinking Brereton Diaz is being way overlooked? He was good for a terrible Sheffield United team, and Southampton are going to attack. I think it's going to be a terrible Southampton team. I'm afraid to say he's not on my radar. Is he on yours, Mark?
He's not, but I was looking at Rate My Team the other night, and if you go max price 6.5 midfielders, he's top as a 5.5 midfielder. So the Rate My Team algorithm strongly fancies Brereton Diaz, and I don't know why that would be. It's a bit. I can only presume they think he's going to play up the top, and they're not giving enough goals to Armstrong. I don't know, but they really.
He's a bit of a cult figure, isn't he? Like people were really into Brereton Diaz. Like I know Hindu Monkey is like his biggest fan, and other people on Twitter have maybe got a goal from him last season and think he's the next big thing. Not too sure.
Southampton will attack at home, but I don't. Away at Newcastle. Forest game week 2. He's a former Forest player. He scored against us for Sheffield United and kissed a badge, which didn't go down very well. So I think he's going to enjoy playing us game week 2. So he's not a bad bet there. And Brentford, United, Ipswich, they've got fairly good fixtures other than that open day. I just think there are better options around. I wouldn't go him over Smith Rowe, for example. Just, unless you're going 2-5-5s, then you don't look at him. Or unless he's really a bit of a correct, which could be incredible if that's the points he gets. I'm just looking at what they're predicting. By game week 6, 25.93 points. I just don't see that. So
he strikes me as a bit of a Nigel the Crab pick.
He does.
He's been on my radar, but only. But I will qualify it is that this is a guy that, despite he's a low price and he looks like a kind of a strange pick. He scored goals at international level, so he's no slouch, and he tends to lurk in the penalty area. I mean, he doesn't look the most athletic, but he's got a bit about it. Would I pick him over Smith Rowe? No. No, I wouldn't.
No, I agree with that. Just wanted to mention the irony of answering these super chats is because they were 2 hours ago. There's no way half of these people are still hanging around. I don't think I could timestamp them.
You never know. They might tune in later before the deadline tomorrow.
Faisy, are you still here? Are you still with us? Thank you very much. I'm not sure how much 110 try is, but it's gold. So I think that's quite a big one. So thank you very much. Trenton Munoz or Gabriel and Saliba, double Arsenal defense. I feel a bit shaky about a double defense at that price. Both being 6 million feels a little bit overkill. I think I'd spread the risk and go for Trenton Munoz.
Did you see what Ashley sent us? I just want to. Sorry, Nigel, you go first, and I'll prepare what Ashley sent us as. Go on.
Do you know what? I saw that email and then completely forgot to read it. Sorry, Ashley. You go first, Simon, and I'll bring in Ashley's content. Sure. She's very good.
No, I'm actually going to agree with Az, and I'm only going to agree with Az because I did actually have both Gabriel and Saliba in my team, but I looked at the fixtures and I thought I'd just have major FOMO if Alexander-Arnold delivers, and I've lost a clean sheet against Aston Villa in the second game week. So I thought, no, for me, I think the two attacking fullbacks there, and Munoz as well. I mean, he was very good for Colombia in the Copa America, so he looks a sound pick.
Yeah, I had him for both his double-digit hauls last season in what can only be described as a awful season from start to finish. He was one of the few who came out of that with any shred of dignity in my side. And I feel like the more players they lose, almost the more prominence he might get in terms of that creativity and taking on a bit more of a goal scoring role, because he was so advanced last season. So I like the Munoz pick. I think Trent and Munoz, they're two very attacking defenders. You're going to watch every game of Liverpool and Palace and think they're going to get something. Gabriel and Saliba's a bit more dull. What have you got for me, Mark?
So Ashley Chappell, who's he's kind of like your tactical joker. He comes up with these.
He is. He's brilliant.
He comes up with these golden nuggets. I mean, it's only a matter of time before you claim them as your own and don't mention Ashley at all, and you turn up with these.
That's things. Just phase him out. Yeah.
You wouldn't do that. But he sent some more stuff for you. But I'll put it in, Ashley. Don't worry. Asmite has turned his back on you. So what was interesting? I haven't got the graphics, but he sent us a study he'd done of Arsenal set pieces in pre-season. And what he noticed was when Calafiori was on the pitch, he's a player, obviously a new signing, who's strong in the air. And he noticed that there was a change in the set piece setup, the corner setup. Now, why this is important is because Saliba and Gabriel were obviously monsters at set plays last season. Arsenal, I think, scored the most goals from corners than any other Premier League side. So it is a factor. When you're picking Saliba and Gabriel, one of the things that's in your head is they can get me 2 or 3 goals or even more over the season. But he noticed when Calafiori was on the pitch, there was a change in roles, and Ben White was kept back in defence and not the player who pinned the goalkeeper. And it was Saliba who was pinning the goalkeeper. And his theory is that Arteta is feeling that Calafiori offers something stronger in the air even than Saliba, whereas Saliba's got the bigger frame to pin the goalkeeper, even bigger frame than Ben White. And so his view is that we could see Saliba's threat from set plays reduce because his role won't be to attack the ball. That'll be on Calafiori and Gabriel. Saliba's role will be to pin the goalkeeper. Now, he'll still be in the mix and he can still get a second ball, but he won't be attacking the first ball from corners. So that, if that rings true, now it's a very small data sample, but it's an interesting one and one to look for. So if you go into the season with Saliba, watch for corners and watch what his role is when Calafiori is on the pitch, because Ashley thinks he might have spotted something. Yeah, golden that is. Thank you, Ashley.
Very, very good. I mean, you don't really get Saliba for goal threat, though, do you? Like, he's never someone who I would back to get a goal.
But you've got that in the back of your mind, I think. You're because Arsenal was so strong at corners last season that you think you're going to get 2 to 3 goals out of him as well over the season. I would. I mean, if I was getting Gabriel in, I'd be thinking, well, it's not just I might as well get Raya for 5-5. But the reason why I go Gabriel for 6 is because perhaps he's more likely to get bonus if he scores a goal, and he should get 3 to 4 goals over the season, given what we saw from Arsenal at set pieces. And for Gabriel, that might well be true. But if Ashley's right with the theory that Saliba is suddenly pinning the keeper, we might see a downturn in his goal output. What did Saliba get last season? He got at least a couple, didn't he?
Got two goals.
Yeah, okay.
Got 2 goals.
Yeah. Gabriel is the larger threat, no question. And you might be right. People aren't getting Saliba for goal threat, but it might be just something to watch for. Just to see if Calafiori at 6 million could be the player to get, because he is very strong in the air, and maybe Arteta's seen that already, and he could be the one.
He's definitely the exciting one at 6. It's just waiting for him to nail down that role at left back. Do you agree with Nigel and I, though, that Trent and Munoz over Gabriel and Saliba?
I'm a vibes player this season, so you got to go Trent.
In for the clicks. In for those clicks. OP Talent. I know OP Talent was in the Q&A earlier as well. Good to see you here. If you're still around, I don't think the last one was around. I said
say hello in chat if you've been here from the start. Let's have a look. Let's see who's been.
If you've done 2 hours and 53 minutes, let us know. OP Talent, thank you for the super chat. Flecken and Henderson, the rotation pairing that you like, Mark. and Saliba and Gabriel, and a 4.0, or Raya and I find some of these so confusing to read out. Flecken and Henderson and Saliba/Gabriel. Okay, so it's Flecken and so it's a rotating 4.5 and an Arsenal defender, or Raya and rotating Munoz and Hall. There you go.
I'll put it on the screen because that might help. But,
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So Flecken and Henderson rotating plus with Saliba or Gabriel and a 4 million, or Raya and a 4 million. And
the
Munoz
4 million is
Hall.
irrelevant because they both have the 4 million anyway. So you can forget about that.
I prefer Raya over having an Arsenal defender, obviously, because that's what I've got in my team at the moment. Because it's the 0.5 more. I don't think bonus is going to come the way of any Arsenal defender very readily. I mean, I think Saliba only got 6 bonus last season, and that was what with 18 clean sheets. So I don't think there's a massive gap between Raya and the centre backs. And we've just said that we could see a change in the output of goals from set plays. So I prefer Raya. Therefore, I'm going to go the second option because obviously Hall gets you potential clean sheet game week 1. Munoz is attacking. And we said earlier, we're not really keen on rotating keepers, are we? Because we don't trust ourselves to get it right. What do you reckon, Nigel? Simon? What should we call you?
I'm using both interchangeably. It's fine.
Yeah, exactly. I noticed that.
So I was looking on FPL Review, and Raya is rated the best 5.5 asset in the entire game. So I'm going to have to go with that. I'm going to have to go with Raya. I mean, Flecken's rated as the best 4.5 asset for any position as well, but he's just got so many mistakes in him. I think, Raya is just a nice set and forget. I mean, you can keep him for the season.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, I regretted not getting Raya last season. And for obvious reasons, I had Gabriel for all the season, I believe, but I really wanted to double up and I just never got on it. And yeah, he had his mistakes in him, but I think that there's no Ramsdale. I don't think Ramsdale's going to be a threat because I don't think Ramsdale's going to be there. I think he'll move off. So for me, I think that 0.5 you can do something with. Yeah, I'm hoping he comes to the City ground as well. And I am keeping an eye on Calafiori though. I do think that could be the way I go if I get a second Arsenal player in. And when the fixtures get better, when they're past this opening run, and there are spells where I would want to double up on maybe an Arsenal defence, but do I want to when there's Villa, Spurs, and City in the first 5? Probably not. I'll just stick with Raya.
I just want to shout out to everyone who said hello to your comment, Mark, about having been here from the start. It's genuinely
a couple of them. Is there? No, it's few.
I just find it stuff like that overwhelming. Like the fact you would sit here and listen to us ramble on for 3
Holly
hours.
said hi. So Holly's been here ages. She did say she's only sticking around for Simon now, though. So she kind of spoiled.
I imagine. I imagine that's a lot of people doing that. But to have nearly 2,500 people watching for this long, just thank you so much. It means a lot to us. And I also wanted to shout out to Paul because Yels and I went to Copenhagen and I was leading us to the hotel, and I took us to the wrong hotel, which is very me. And
Beautiful.
we ended up in like a bar over the road. And as we walked in, a guy was like, "Are you Asen Yelena? Like, I watch your streams," and came over and we chatted to Paul for a while. So yeah, it's funny to see him in the chat. So yeah, hi Paul, good to see you again.
You said that in chat, and I said he recognised Yelena first, and he just realised it was you.
Oh, and you're that other guy that she knows. Yeah. Obviously, yeah. We get that a lot. That's fine. Yeah. Ken's Bromsgrove, thank you for the super chat. Porro and Gordon and holding 0.5 in the bank versus Trent and Gibbs White. Oh, that's close. What do you think, Nige?
Yeah,
I've gone for Nige now.
You go, Nige. Go on.
For the start of the season, it'd have to be Porro and Gordon. As the season progresses, I think I'd be tempted to switch.
Yeah, I mean, the lesser asset there on price. Well, actually, Porro's. I really like Porro, but Gibbs White is probably the lesser asset of the 4 there. For the reasons Nigel said, I think that there'll be some games where we struggle to break teams down, unless Nuno really amps up the attacking aspects of our game, which could happen, but it's not going to happen straight away. And like you say, the opening fixtures favour Porro and Gordon, don't they? I do love Porro. I haven't had him. I don't think he's left my team since I built it. I think he's been in there all the time. Gordon's gone in and out with the maybe risk to his minutes, but I think he could end up back in by tomorrow. So yeah, I concur with Nigel. I think it's Porro Gordon, and the 0.5 could be really handy. Would you?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, does it have to be Gibbs White? Could it be Nkunku or Bailey? You know, I think they're better. I think they're better options. But
you're blowing my casting theory out of the water, then, are you?
Okay. I just love Trent as an option the first few weeks. I know Porro's got a good first couple of games, but I think Trent could be someone that you keep much longer term than that. And then Gordon, there's a bit of uncertainty around his minutes and his start game week 1. And I think there's some good other 6-5 assets. I mean, Gibbs White is a good pick as well, but you pick one of the other ones. I think it's really close. I think I'd favour towards the option with Trent, but there's not much in it.
Here's a good one. Look, Leo is good. Question for Mark: will Hudson-Odoi start tomorrow? I nearly corrected him by saying, "Well, it's not tomorrow, is it? Because we play Saturday."
I knew you were going to say that.
What time is it, though? Hold on, it's only an hour to go before it is right. Anyway,
good point.
Leo is good. He is going to start. He is going to start against Bournemouth. Yes, yeah. Whether he'll start after game week 3 and 4. Because I think Anderson will be a factor, and I don't think necessarily Anderson gets himself into the first 11 yet, but there will be rotation. We are signing more wingers. We've signed Roman Sousa, Paraguayan winger, who's the best player in the Argentinian league. I'm led to believe. Goal scoring, very direct winger. Plays on the left, could play down the middle, could play on the right, but he favours the left. Therefore, I presume that's going to eat into Hudson-Odoi's minutes around game week 3 and 4. So just be wary of that. But as a starting player, 5-5, yeah, he'll start against Bournemouth. He'll start at Southampton, and he'll probably start against Wolves. But he will give up minutes. There you go.
This is from Emmanuel. If not Bob, then McAtee. And I saw that and thought, no one's going to be picking McAtee. Do you know how many attacking returns McAtee got last season? Both of you, have a guess.
8.
Not far off.
Well, I'll go 9 then in that case.
he got 7 attacking returns.
Oh, there you go.
Which isn't bad given he wasn't exactly playing for a great side.
Well, he's playing for the worst side in the Premier League.
Well, yeah, playing for the absolute worst side. So, I mean, there's question marks around his minutes, but you've got to think if he's going to be given the chance, and I think he will play the first game. Maybe he is a bit of a Bob equivalent.
Is he 5? I haven't even looked at his price.
Yeah, he's 5 million. Same price as Bob. Yeah, 5 million.
Pep rates him. He doesn't want to loan him. He doesn't want to sell him. He made the comment recently about how he's got great ball control in tight areas. So I think McAtee's definitely one that's being looked at for the future.
Yeah, maybe he's a bit too much.
I think this is the season where Pep eases him in, and then next season could be the one where he might get more regular starts. So, yeah, just saying, Tekka's here saying 3 hours of absolute gold dust. I can listen to this on my dog. You are spoiling your dogs. I was going to say, you are. I can only presume you've got some dogs that need a lot of energy taken out of them, because 3 hours is a long walk.
A good comment from FPL Borough as well. He says, "Tut, you can't change the players in a super chat. You told Sam that on your earlier stream. If anyone saw the Q&A I did with Sam, she's very good at she's given 2 options and then she just goes, well, don't go for any of them. Go for this third one. It's like, no, you've got to pick out of the options. That's the whole point of these questions. So yeah, I will admit I was guilty of that. Steve Burton, thoughts on Saka and Solanke versus Son and Havertz? This is a question we had earlier. Actually, we were pretty unanimous on this one, but yeah, what do you think, Mark? I think it's clear which the best one is. Yeah, it's got to be, right. Do you agree with that, Nigel?
Yeah, it's no-brainer. Especially the fact that you've got Solanke now playing for an even more attacking team than Bournemouth were. So yeah, for me, it's Saka and Solanke.
There you go, Steve. We smashed that one.
I want to ask Nigel this because I want to get opinions on this, because there's been a debate on whether if Solanke had been at Spurs from the get-go, would he be 7.5? What do you reckon to that?
No, he wouldn't.
Where would he have been?
10. It'd be closer to 10. Because just because the sheer volume of chances that Spurs... So 442 did a great piece on this a couple of days ago, that the reason why Spurs struggled is because they just couldn't put the ball in the net. Richarlison was playing far too deep, wasn't attacking enough. You put someone like Solanke in, he's going to be gobbling up those chances.
Yeah, James.
I think it'd have
Alcott
been
did a piece
8-5
on it as well, didn't he? 8-5. Yeah, I was thinking 8-5. Yeah, jump from some, which is
maybe 9, but I'd probably put him at 8-5.
Yeah, well, and when you think about that, then that kind of makes up your mind that he's got to be in your team. I mean, that's why it's interesting. I think that his sign-in for Spurs does make moving off Haaland more palatable, because suddenly you've got another striker in that bracket along with Isak and Watkins and maybe Tony that can compensate for not having Haaland if obviously you're getting Salah and Trent in your team as well. So I think Solanke's move did maybe change the dial a little bit on the move towards Haaland. We've seen a lot of traffic go Haaland's way. I don't know where it's going this way. I'm going to bring up the Scout app to see what's happening on that, because they've got a decent view of recent transfer activity and who's coming in, who's out. Yeah, so Haaland's not in the top 5 ownership changes in the last 24 hours, so it's slowed down. But Solanke is. He's gone up 1.7% in the last 24 hours. And I wouldn't be surprised. Jota's top with a 2% increase. Those moves for Jota and Solanke, I wonder how much of that is seeing traffic move a little bit more away from Haaland. I think it probably is. It's probably flattened out a bit since Solanke.
Do you think more people are going to panic though close to the deadline and suddenly bring Haaland back in?
Yeah, of course, including me, probably.
Yeah.
No, that wasn't Nigel. I know you're laughing because you think that's anti-Haaland propaganda, and it wasn't. No, I wasn't trying. This is it. You do something crazy like not getting Haaland, and you get accused at the end of that. And I don't blame people, but I wasn't doing that, honestly. Yeah.
What, clickbait?
Anyway, move on. No, I wasn't. No, it's fine.
Pretty sure you literally said you were clickbaiting within your rant.
Oh, yeah, not getting. Yeah,
not getting him. Yeah. Zonomir, you are the wire, not the FPL wire, the V wire, compared to mainstream fluff. Wow, take that, slippers. Congrats. I've had Hudson Odoi and Bruno all summer. Now neither. I'm wobbling. Talk me off Bowen versus a shaky Aston Villa. So Bowen, Hudson Odoi and Bruno. I don't like any of those picks, particularly Zonomir. We talked about Bowen earlier. Nigel was talked a lot about Bruno, obviously a big fan, and Mark, you think Hudson Odoi is going to start. So I guess we're a bit hotter on those two than we are the Bowen.
No, I think Bowen's more likely to return than Hudson Odoi. He's a better player, better finisher. Hudson Odoi, a lot of goals last year, 8 goals, but I think he had, next to Foden, he outperformed his XG by the biggest margin. So we expect some regression. Might not come, and they might not be able to stop Hudson Odoi cutting inside and curling them in. But I would, if they were the same price, I'd be going Bowen. Obviously, the difference in price means Hudson Odoi is, that extra 2 million. That's useful, right? So I wouldn't. It'd be very close. I'd probably go Hudson Odoi for game week 1, given the fixtures and the 2 million. But I think, Bowen's not. I mean, you obviously are on Bowen, Nigel, right? Because you're looking at the relationship with Paquetá. And,
yeah, I just think as well with Bowen, now he's captain, he's nailed for 90 minutes, just like Bruno pretty much is. So, and I rate Hudson Odoi, always have, even back in his days at Chelsea. But there's just something about I'm not certain he's going to get the full 90, and there's a lot of change at Forest as well, which obviously you know better than I do. So I'm just not set on him.
Jack Flash is saying, can we morph this into a 24-hour stream, into a deadline stream? If we weren't going to Fest, maybe.
Oh, God. I think I've got about another 20 minutes in me, and then I think I'm going to have to
one day we should try for that.
A charity
24-hour stream. Oh my God.
Yeah. Oh, Planet
community
FPL
stream.
Yeah.
See what I did there?
You link charity to community again. Yeah. Very
Yes,
good.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark. It's nice to have some
I'm still awake.
Albin Frederick, Rogers and Robertson versus Hudson Odoi and Johnson.
Right.
I would go Rogers and Robinson all day.
Hudson Odoi and Johnson. Does he mean Ben Johnson, right? Yeah. That's easy. That's an easy one, Albin. Straight to Rogers and Robinson, right, Nigel?
Yeah, easy street.
Where do you stand on the Watkins starting, Nigel? What's your opinion?
Oh, that's a tricky. I mean, so is there anything confirmed from Emery that's actually said that he's got concerns around Watkins? I suppose that would be my question.
Would Emery say that? Probably he might want to. I haven't seen any quotes on him yet, but
his conference is tomorrow, isn't it?
Yeah, we'll get him tomorrow, won't we?
I think he starts. I think there's no way that. Yeah, I think he's too good not to start. He had a good Euros as well. You think, I mean, that goal that he scored against Holland, he was buzzing after that. I'd be surprised if he doesn't start, and I think Rodgers plays on the left.
0 minutes though, 0 preseason minutes, then chucked straight back in a quite tough away game.
He's rock solid though.
Good not to.
That's true.
You don't associate him with injuries, do you?
Solid, yeah.
Yeah. So maybe he feels he's Teflon-like, and he's been on a training program that doesn't need preseason minutes, and they may have played him behind closed doors. We may not know about it. I don't know. I mean, I'm really 50-50 on it. I'd love Rodgers to start up top. I think Rodgers starts anyway, and so he warrants the selection. Yeah.
Yep. We've got a lovely series of super chats now from Zvonimir again. So first one just says, too much respect for United. Surely you start ESR. So that's aimed at your team specifically, Mark. I think I might
look at that, because starting ESR will change the selection somewhat in terms of my squad selection. Because I've only got Lewis Hall in there because I need someone who I think can return in game week 1. But if I start ESR, I don't necessarily need to go Lewis Hall. I could get Robinson in, and that would mean I've got the triple up on Fulham, which I like for the fixtures to come. So I will look at that. Yeah, I mean, in the 4 hours we've got left before deadline, I will look at that.
Because in the 4 hours we've got left of this stream.
I'm joking. The deadline's not in 4 hours. You can go to bed. It's fine.
It is really Friday,
don't panic. Zonimir again. Yes, Mark. Don't blame. It is. Woo. Don't blame Matt today. Haaland, nothing. 1 and 3. Nothing.
I'd love that, but it's not going to happen, is it?
And you're going to have to watch game week 2. So yeah, not really what you want to hear. Liverpool and both teams to score is a lock. You had you were 3-0 Liverpool, right? And I was 4-1.
Yeah, 3-0. Yeah, bizarre. I mean, Ipswich will have goals in them. I mean, Nigel, promoted sides. Which one's going to start the strongest, do you think?
Oh, that is a really difficult question to answer. I mean, I think that the Ipswich are a really unknown quantity in the Premier League because McKenna was highly sought after. I mean, United were looking after him. So I think Ipswich will cause more surprises than we expect. But I think there's something about Martin as a manager at Southampton. I think that we'll see some shocks down at Southampton. So
yeah,
I think we'll see some shocks at Southampton. Yeah, if I'm going to stick my neck on the block, I'm going to have to go for Southampton.
I mean, they've got the firepower with Armstrong and probably Diaz, who, between them could get 10 goals each. You never know if they have a good season. I think they've got a bit more firepower about them. So you think Martin's football will translate well to the Premier League, do you? You think it'll click?
Well, when you look at how he set up for most of the season, it was like a 4-3-3, quite attacking formation. And they were peppering teams. They scored a lot of goals. But when it comes to the harder matches, he changed to a back 3, and he played in the
semi-final. Yeah, he did. Yeah,
and I think he'll do the same. I don't think he's going to go. I think away from home, he's going to play it really tight, kind of medium to low block. At home against smaller teams likes of Ipswich, I think he's going to go for it. I think that's so. I fancy that Southampton will be a surprise, but probably still get relegated.
I mean, if you think you've seen tippy-tappy passing, wait until you see a Russell Martin team. Honestly, they have players that are literally 2 feet apart going tip, 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 tip. Like, honestly, it's just it's extraordinary. That's how Swansea was when they came to see. I've never seen anything like it. So it's just going to be really interesting how that translates if he tries that. Yeah.
It only just about worked to get him up, let alone Burnley had a great possession style type of football, which didn't translate to Premier League. It won't work. I'm sorry, Southampton fans.
Nigel is right. He did adapt. Certainly for the playoffs as well. We saw it. So he might well change it. But I think his passing philosophy, his possession philosophy will stay the same. So we'll see. How they go. I'm going. I'm going to
I'm gonna have to order some food. I'm absolutely starving. I might order a kebab.
Haven't you get it delivered?
I've had 3 beers. Yeah, I think I need to get. I'm starved. I haven't eaten any dinner either. We've been doing this.
Okay.
Is your pizza just ready and cold?
No, it's not in the oven yet. I've got to cook it and do the fest quiz and do the. I mean, I'll be up till God knows when. No, yeah.
Right, I'm going to take this next one. Then I'm going to order myself a kebab. We've got so many super chats, so they've paid for my kebab tonight. So I appreciate that. Next one, also from Zonmir, his last one. Great team apart from bench Smith Rowe. We've already covered that. Man United suck.
Is he talking to Is he talking about my team there? It must be. So that's all right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So he likes it. Good.
I like that Zonner keeps paying you $1.99 to tell you to play Smith Rowe.
I'm getting the message off him here. It's coming through loud and clear.
5 super chats left. This is from Paul Hayes. KDB, surely an option. Tell me why not. I hand this over to you, Nigel, and I'm going to order my kebab.
He doesn't start, does he, Nigel?
Oh, do you know what? It's funny. I was watching the highlights of Belgium versus Romania earlier, as you do, and he was absolutely outstanding during the Euros. He's barely played since, and I just got a feeling Pep wants to lay down a marker for the start of the season. If Foden doesn't play, I've got a feeling that De Bruyne starts. I've just got a feeling he starts.
It was funny. I was going to ask Az earlier, do you think Pep's going to spring a surprise or two with that lineup? And having said that they're going to be phased back in, that he will just throw them in for game week 1. So I do suspect you might be right, that we might get 1 or 2 surprises, and either one of Foden or De Bruyne ends up in the starting 11, and we didn't expect it. Out of necessity now. It's like I said earlier, like Bob has taken out some goal threat, some creativity. And is he going to go into the Chelsea game relying on the likes of Doku and Grealish and Silva and McAtee, or is he going to turn to the staples, at least one of them? So I think you could be right, but it's just knowing what he'll do. I mean, it's like to play Pep Roulette on game week 1 with the amount of money you need to get either KDB or Foden in. It's a big risk, isn't it?
I mean, he doesn't play the 90. I mean, I almost certainly wouldn't play the 90, but I think he features, and I think that Haaland is a much better player when De Bruyne is on the pitch.
Of course, yeah. Don't see it. Have you gone chili sauce, Az? Or?
Oh yeah, of course. A mixed chicken and lamb shish wrap and chips.
I haven't had dinner, and I don't want to know. You're making me hungry. It's like I'm going to faint in a minute. It's so hot in this shed as well. It's like an endurance test. This is, that raw dog thing when the people sitting in a plane staring at something. That's what I feel like. I've just been staring at the screen with no food.
Haaland,
and the temperature soaring.
Yeah, Haaland's tweet. Yeah. Hang on, sorry. Just ordering.
Yeah, you keep. Should we take the next one? Let's have a look. Okay, Davis family first. Thank you very much for the super chat. Wood and Johnson or Pedro and 4.5 defender Audia Barco. Wood and Johnson, so that's Chris Wood and Ben Johnson, or Pedro and a 4.5 defender. Oh dear. I mean, Wood will play the first 3 games, won't he? I think, as I said earlier, Pedro will be a rotation risk as soon as the new players settle. So there's not much in that, but Pedro's got penalties. It depends who the 4-5 defender is. I mean, I think you could get Counsel, obviously, and I really like Counsel at 4-5. So I'd probably go Pedro in the 4-5. What do you reckon, Nigel?
Yeah, I would as well. And a thing about Herzler as well, a feature of his St. Pauli team was that whoever played centre forward had a tendency to drop in the midfield and play interlinking passes. So, and I think that really plays to Pedro's game as well. So I think that you'll probably find that with Pedro, there's going to be a lot more. Basically, the system is really going to work for the wingers, and Pedro's going to be arriving late. getting on the end of it. So for me, I'd be going Pedro and a 4.5. But it depends on the 4.5. I'm not sold by any of the. I'm not sold on Mikalenko, and I'm certainly not sold on the Palace 4.5s. So that's a tricky one for me. The 4.5, maybe Konsa, but even then, I'm not sold on Konsa.
If you don't have Trent, then Konsa's good. I mean, I think Canate will get minutes, and when the Champions League kicks in, we'll know more about the rotation between the two of them. But I think Quansah starts Ipswich Brentford, and then you need another player to bring in to maybe bench him at United, because I think if Canate is going to get a start, it will be at United maybe. I think he is a better defender than Quansah, but he brings extra quality on the ball, doesn't he? And Slot likes that. We can see it.
Yeah, Canate's a bit of a barn door, really, isn't he? He's just sort of like the ball just hits him, whereas Quansah's definitely he's got a bit of calm and a certain level of technique that Slot wants from his central defenders. And I think that Phillips actually has as well, who probably won't get a look in. He's a similar style of player.
He was linked with us for a while. Yeah, I forgot about him as well. Nigel, your audio quality suddenly got really bad, and I don't know why.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's like a loose connection or... Oh, that's better. That's whatever you did in that second so fixed it.
Turned my head.
It was really good. Yeah, well, it was fine though. It was really good at the start, and it's just dropped down. Thanks to Lee, who's given me $4.99 to help with my kebab order. Appreciate that.
We'll see Sam and Lee tomorrow, won't we? I'll say tomorrow.
We are, of course.
Still that, isn't it? Yes, it is.
It is still tomorrow. Yeah, still tomorrow. We're now at 3 hours. 3 hours 20. Great comment as well from oh god, where is it? Tom. Nigel should need to be a frequent guest.
Yeah, he's done brilliantly.
Absolutely. Brilliant. So that's Paul done. Davies family first.
We've done that.
That's what I was ordering my kebab. Good. Yep. Chris Asso, rank top 3: Rodri, Murphy, Smith Rowe, Minte, Bailey. Bailey's a bit more, so is Rodri, to be fair. I would go Bailey. No, I'd go Smith Rowe, Bailey, Minte. Mark?
Same.
I'd go Bailey, Smith Rowe, Minte. I think Bailey over the season will probably outscore Smith Rowe, but the difference would be marginal probably, and the 1 million difference. Yeah. So if it's just in terms of points, Bailey, Smith Rowe, Minte. But Smith Rowe's the best asset there, isn't he? Best asset in terms of value is Smith Rowe there. Rodri, I was surprised, the returns he got last season. And he actually got more, I think it was more double digits in home matches than Haaland. He got 6 double-digit returns in home matches, Rodri, which is crazy.
18 in total. 18 attacking returns for Rodri.
Yeah. So Haaland, 4 attacking.
Like Maddison or Havertz, Grealish, they'd bite your hands off for 18 attacking returns.
Yeah, Haaland got 4 double digits at home and Rodri got 6, which I just didn't expect to see. But so
ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Shivam, you still here? You still with us? 10:55. There's a chance that Shivam is still watching. João Pedro and Gordon, or Solanke and basically any 5.5 mid looking to wildcard in game week 8. João Pedro and Gordon, or Solanke and a 5.5. Mark?
I think Solanke and a 5.5. Solanke and Smith Rowe, really, with the way I'll be going. He hasn't listed Smith Rowe there, which I'm surprised at. But Solanke and Murphy give you that short-term promise for game week 1. Obviously, Murphy will start, we think, against Southampton. Wildcard game week 8, I don't know whether that factors into it. I guess the problem going João Pedro and Gordon is João Pedro's minutes will start to come under question 3 or 4 game weeks in. And if you're not wildcarding to 8, you might have a problem there. You'd have to move him out. And yeah, Solanke and a 5.5 would be the way I go.
Nigel, agree with that?
Yeah, same as just the first 5 to 6 fixtures really.
I think it is close. It is close though, because again, Solanke's a bit of a short-term pick with the first 2, but so's João Pedro, given like the rotation, and then it's Gordon versus a 5.5, and you'd expect Gordon to comfortably outscore the 5.5 options. But I'd want Solanke. I think Solanke for the first 2. He's someone I've prioritised. So, and I think the 5.5 options are still decent. So I'd lean towards that one. But I think it is close between them. This is from Shaky Jake, which could be my dog. Where's my dog? No, there's somewhere. Does Haaland beat Son, Salah, and Saka? Midfield, first 6? As in, does he beat all 3 of them combined? Probably not. Does he beat them all individually? Ooh, yes. I think so. That's why I've got him, right?
Well, I've got the Son, Salah, Saka midfield, right? So I think that I'm obviously going to say no, because that's what I'm going with probably. It's the captaincy though, isn't it? It's the captaincy and it's game week 2. So what do we think the gap will be between Haaland and Salah game week 2? Salah at home to Brentford, Haaland at home to Ipswich. We think, we're taking it for granted, it's going to be a drubbing for Ipswich, and that Haaland's going to do what he's done before, which is a hat-trick against a promoted team. That could happen, and that could be the difference. That could be the thing that swings it. If the captaincy didn't exist, you'd have to say Son, Salah, Saka would probably come out on top. But that captaincy swings it so much, doesn't it? Nigel, tell me to go Son, Salah, Saka.
I would love to, but Haaland scored over 60 goals in 2 seasons, and I don't know. I still think that you could build a midfield that would be able to balance out the difference in points between that 3 and Haaland. So I've got to go Haaland.
Yeah,
I think I look at my midfield of Saka, Jota, Gordon. There's still 3. Obviously, there's risks around Jota and things, but there's still 3 proven assets in terms of what they can deliver. So, although I am worried about, Son. Okay, he's not going to do too much damage though because he's not too highly owned. But obviously, I'm worried about Salah, but I do think you can still build a decent enough team without Haaland. What brilliant pricing though, 15 million for him. He has, because if he was 13 million, there wouldn't be any debate in this at all. Even at 14, 15, that extra million goes a long way. I'm backing Haaland because I've got him, and if I did believe that midfield would be better, then I would go for that. But it could go anyway. You just never know.
Well, I'm going to go Son, Salah, Saka. So
good for you. I'm glad to hear it. We've had Shaky Jake already. FPL Uproar, been loving this stream. Keep it up, guys. Thank you. Hope you're still tuning in. Oh my God, the end's in sight. I can see some blank space on the pins. FPL Family, about my kebab. We've already had that one. I'll get some chips for your kebab. Yep, I will do. I've ordered those. Thank you very much, Lee. FPL Uproar, green arrows for everyone. How wholesome is that?
It's lovely, isn't it? It's what you need. It's what you need when you're in turmoil like me. So yeah, thank you, Uproar.
Jordan Speller, I'm bench boosting in game week 1.
Oh.
Not sure whether to go with Flecken or Matt Sells, or sell Gabriel for Zinchenko and go Onana and upgrade Martinez to Dalot. How sure are you that Sells starts, Mark?
He'll start.
You've got to go for him then, right? Arguably the best goalkeeper game week 1, I'd say, playing Bournemouth without any striker. Yeah,
I think he's more likely to keep a clean sheet than Flecken. Although, Palace, we don't know, what they're going to turn. I mean, like I said, Eze's really their key man. They're missing Marteta, obviously, Elise not there. But yeah, I think Sells over Flecken for game week 1. Why has he got the option to sell Gabriel for Zinchenko and go Onana and upgrade Martin? No, just go Sells, yeah. Right.
Yeah. And then Nigel, you've given us some good United analysis already on this stream so far. What do you reckon around Martinez and Dalot? Is that worth an upgrade, an extra 0.5?
No. If you're going to upgrade, I know this might be like a bit of a maverick pick, but I'd be going for someone like De Ligt because I know that he's going to be an absolute beast from corners. Yeah. So no, I'd be sticking with Martinez. Although Martinez has got a gaff in him, so I suppose that I'd be wary of Martinez.
What Jordan has said is when he's going to wildcard, because I wouldn't go Matt Sells unless you're wildcarding early, because Sells will be out of that goal by game week 4. So bear that in mind.
Yeah, good point. Do you reckon De Ligt definitely starts, or do you reckon it's going to be Maguire or Evans?
I think De Ligt has to start.
Yeah, I think you're probably right there. Yeah, good point. Good. Zvonimir, again, thank you. You've been very generous tonight, Zvonimir. Thank you. We really, really appreciate all these all these super chats. I hate to say it because he's a spud, but Planet FPL James has been incredible the last few weeks. He is always incredible. His bench boost is treated like a gimmick, but I believe, love that. Thoughts?
Yeah,
we've talked about, haven't we, Mark?
Yeah,
we're not huge fans.
It's just because you have to commit to the wild card early, and I'm not a fan of that necessarily. You know, you've got to build a team with game week 1 in mind to such an extent that you then got to kind of get the wild card out early to maybe fix that, unless it goes your way with the output over longer term. But I mean, James is happy with that, and that's what he's going to do. And maybe committing to the wild card early is going to be the right play. But I just want to see how we start first and not build a team game week 1 with that in mind. As for the bench boost, we've said before, it's just very difficult, isn't it, to know there's not going to be any outliers that take us by surprise with the team sheets, like Solanke suddenly not turning up or something, which I hope and pretty sure that won't happen. But it's that uncertainty. We know the very least about how things are going to happen in game week 1. We have pre-season to go on, but how reliable is that? So that just makes me a little bit nervous. And obviously your relationship with the bench boost is very strong, so you know, maybe you're the one to advise on
Get
this.
it out of the way. Get it out of the way. It's like I said to you last time, though. It is horrible not having it and knowing that other people around you have it, and that is enough for me not to play it game week 1, because there's just this constant threat that someone's going to hit like 30-40 points. And you, even when you're chasing in mini leagues, you see people with the chip and you think, even though I'm ahead, they might still catch up, you know, by X amount. And I didn't like playing it early last time, so it's not for me. Nigel, have you ever played the bench boost early by accident or on purpose?
I really thought you were going to ask, have you ever played it by accident? No, he hasn't.
No, I did. I had been weighing up playing it game week 1 just to get rid of it, but it's so difficult to build a team for the first 5 weeks off the bench boost. You just feel like you're making you feel like you're really committing to picks that you don't really want to. So I've abandoned that idea.
Yeah. I don't hate it though. Like if you do manage to get if you get the 15 out and they all play, and both Mark and I have already predicted this to be a high scoring week. So you could, you know, if that's where your Murphy comes in, and I don't know, your Delict and your Zinchenko's and all these, you know, Simicast as well at left back, maybe it's a masterstroke. But yeah, not for me. Ewan says, see you at Fest tomorrow. Looking forward to seeing you.
See you there. Yes.
And seeing you in the flesh, Nigel, of course.
I don't know what state I'll be in, Ewan, but I'll be there.
Ross says, I'm 2 hours 45 behind. Think I'll catch up on the rest tomorrow. Don't blame you at all. And Cameron says, in Arizona, with my 2 toddlers, you guys have somehow been keeping them calm all afternoon. What does that say about the 3 of us? That we're so boring that it's keeping...
We're soothing.
You know, like when they're in like the mindless trance watching like Bluey, and there's just nothing behind the eyes. I imagine that's probably quite similar. And the final super chat of the night is from Davies Family First. Thank you so much. I know you've been here for a while, Davies. Appreciate all your support. Need a 4-5 defender. Have Salah, Trent, Jota, Robinson, and Hall. Who would you go for, Nigel? Who's the 4-5?
Against my better judgment, I'd probably say Anderson.
Even though there's some transfer rumours about him, isn't there, going to Fulham?
I think he's a better pick at Fulham, actually, because I think that he'll make a difference to that team. But yeah, so probably Anderson. I'm on the fence about Counsel. You know, if there wasn't so much rumours around Gay, I'd say he's not a bad pick either. But yeah, I'd probably say Anderson. Yeah.
I know who you're going to say, Mark, so not at any point coming to you, is there?
It's Counsel or Quansah. I've just realised, Nigel, you could have been talking about Counsel earlier, and I was talking about Quansah because it's so similar. But those are the 2, aren't they? Those 2 at 4-5 for me. I mean, Counsel of Aston Villa is the sensible pick because he'll get you that run. You know, you can then rotate him with Robinson over that run. I don't know who your other defender is. You've got Trent, Robinson and Hall. You're not going to play Lewis Hall very often after game week 1, I wouldn't have thought. So it depends who your other defenders is and whether you've got to play Hall. If you've got to play Hall, then I would get Counsel because he gives you a better option over that run. But I love Joel Quansah of Liverpool. So I would be tempted to double up. But then do you want to be locked out of a third Liverpool player? That's the other option. But if you've got Salah, you've got probably all you need. So I'm torn. I'm going to say Quansah. Go Joel Quansah. Yeah.
Interesting. I'm going to say someone completely different, and I'm going to say Van de Ven.
Oh,
I
yeah.
like
4-5.
Yeah, I like Van de Ven. Yeah.
For the early fixtures.
With Leicester and Everton. Yeah. Just go for the early fixtures. I don't like Conser. Do you know what? I had Conser in one of my early drafts, and I watched the Planet FPL with the Villa correspondent, and James pointed out that Conser played most minutes last season for Villa and got 91 points, and I thought that is crap. And they've now lost Luiz. I know the fixtures are great, but I don't know. I think you get a bit of attacking potential with Van de Ven in those first 2 games, and good fixtures. So he would be my pick. Can't have Conser anyway. There you go.
Yeah, that was. I think he's talking about himself rather than the super chat. But yeah, that's the thing about Conser. He does lock out the Liverpool slot, and you just don't know, do you, whether Jota keeps his place and you want to double up on Salah and Jota. So that's the thing. It does shut that out, and it is a bit of a worry for me. Yeah.
No disaster on wheels. I did not take a third pick out of nowhere. It said the best 4-5 defender, and I said Van de Ven. There wasn't options. There was just that question.
They're very strict with you, aren't they? You obviously have taken the mickey a bit in your streams.
Yeah, but I do. I give it a lot. So it's only right. Guys, that is it. We are cleared for super chats. We've done 3 hours and 35 minutes. Nigel, you have been honestly. I knew you'd be good on here, but I wasn't quite ready for how much you brought to the stream.
Have you done any of this business before, Nigel? Have you been on other people's streams before?
No, not at all.
Well, there we go. Where's the contract? Get it signed immediately. Don't let anyone else have it.
absolute natural. We'll
get the contract in the post, Nigel. You're not going anywhere. Yeah. We're going to lock you in. There'll be a release clause, but it'll be a fortune. It'll be Manscaped forever, basically.
Yeah, you know you're a real part of the Black Box elite when you're doing the Manscaped adverts for us. Perfect. Right, that's 3.5 hours. That is officially the longest Black Box stream we've ever done. Again, I've said it so many times, but thank you everyone for tuning in, and those of you who've been there from the start, and all the toddlers watching. Thank you very much. Do check out the Black Box Patreon. If you'll watch for 3.5 hours, then maybe you should check that out. And Nigel, you were the original Godfather tier member of the Black Box channel.
I believe so.
And he's still here, so it must be good, right? Because you're still going. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Perfect stuff. And yeah, good luck everyone with Gameweek 1 teams. The 3 of us will all be at Fest tomorrow. Hope to see lots of you there. Good luck with the tinkering, and we'll all see you very soon.
Good night
from me.
Bye for now.